week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible by Ops Genie because incidents happen. Thankfully, Ops Genie empowers dev and ops teams to plan for service disruptions and stay in control during incidents. It also gives teams the power to respond quickly and efficiently to unplanned issues, and helps notify all the right people through a smart combination of scheduling and escalation paths. With Ops Genie, your next incident doesn't stand a chance. Visit opsgenie.com to sign up and get a free company account and add up to 5 team members. That's opsgenie.com. Never miss a critical alert again with Ops Genie.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, February 14th, 2019, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special Valentine's Day episode of This Is Only a Test. It's only a special episode because it just happens to be released on February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'm Norm, and joined by our trusty co-host, purveyor of pinball, Jeremy Williams.
I know how to solder.
I like purveyor of pinball.
We are coming up with nicknames for everyone. We had some suggestions from you out there, listeners. Someone said EV jockey for Jeremy, but I don't know that works for you. You aren't defined by your ownership of an electric vehicle.
No more than you are, Norm.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm sticking with, until I hear a better one, purveyor of pinball.
Or we could just let it drop.
Nope. Not gonna let it. Never gonna let it go. Never.
You need like 2 or 3 of those, though. If you're going to do them, it needs to be purveyor of pinball, the blah, 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 and the blah, blah, blah.
No. Every guest or every host will have their own moniker. And you heard him here, but you did not hear the dubstep intro. Have we retired that?
No.
Have we let that drop?
It's in my rider. I'm not doing this show anymore unless the dubstep comes back. That's my new policy.
I just wasn't feeling it again, you know?
Wow.
Last time he was here, we played the newer intro, and I thought it'd be nice to bring it back just to the standard, just to see what happens.
I mean, look, the classic intro is a classic for a reason. But on the other hand, the dubstep is horrible in so many important ways.
It's Will Smith. What would you like your moniker to be? What do you think best defines you?
Will Smith. That's it. That's my moniker.
Will Smith. That Will Smith.
Just Will Smith. Nope.
Genie in a bottle.
Nope.
Will Smith.
A little bit of the magic here.
Bad Boys 3.
Yep, that's me.
Will Smith.
Me and Martin Lawrence, my buddy Martin Lawrence from over in Accountant.
All right.
Aren't they making another one?
They are making
Probably.
another one.
Why
I think
not?
they
Why
shared
wouldn't
the
they?
first photo of the new one that they're working on. So you out there, you have till next time Will guests on the show.
Could be
to
next
come
week.
up,
Could be a year. Who knows?
to come up with a name for Will Smith. Something not the actor Will Smith related, preferred. So no Welcome to Earth.
No, I'm not going to say welcome to. Sorry, I got a text message about picking up children plans. No, nothing about welcome to Earth. This is a problem you don't have yet because your child is always attached to one of its humans.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you just like your child can't go out in the world unaccompanied.
Heck no.
No,
No way.
See, well, as soon as they go out unaccompanied, it's like, hey, who's picking up the kid from school today? And then it's I can't do it. Well, no, you should do it. I know. I don't think I can get there in time because it's raining. And then here we are. I'm looking at my phone during a podcast like a complete jerk.
And that's the latest from the Smiths. Well, thank you all for joining us. What do we got this week? What have you guys been doing? You guys got big Valentine's Day plans? How do you, as married fellas with children, celebrate your Valentine's Day?
Are you looking for advice?
I am.
Go buy some flowers today.
Nah. She
Trust
doesn't
me.
like flowers.
Doesn't matter. Just buy flowers.
Nah.
You have to be a little bit thoughtful.
I'm coming home with a box of Girl Scout cookies.
But she paid for those.
But
and she
doesn't-
ordered them.
That's true.
What do you
Yeah.
mean she doesn't like flowers? Is she allergic to them?
No, just
Did
the
she tell you
sentiment-
don't ever buy me flowers?
don't ever get certain flowers.
Well, that is an important cue. You've
Mm.
missed something important there because there's 2 sets here. There's flowers she told you not to ever buy, and then there's all the other flowers that are game.
I think in the flowers and chocolate, the chocolate weighs heavily, weighs more.
Go all in on both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, all in on one.
Are you going
on
to
the
dinner or
chocolate.
anything? Are you going to make dinner?
Oh,
What's your plan?
we're gonna drop the child off at my parents' house, and we're gonna watch a movie.
Oh, okay. See, that's good. You have plans.
Yes, plans. We're gonna make use of our AMC A-list,
Are you going out?
and
You're
we're gonna
stubbsing.
go stubbsing and gonna watch Lego Movie 2.
Oh, that's a fine film.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Jeremy?
I am working, and I'm going to try to make it home in time for dinner.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes, and I'll probably get some flowers tonight.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Well, you both have daughters, and at this point, your daughters could be your Valentine. As like that's the thing they do
Like
in
here,
school. you
here's
get
a
the card.
child. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I got you for your Valentine's
Exactly.
Day. It's a child that you squeezed out of yourself.
No. Like the Valentine doesn't need to
Oh.
be to your SO. Your Valentine, your child could be your Valentine.
It's a much
Like,
bigger
be my
deal.
Valentine, child.
It's a much bigger holiday now that I have a 6-year-old daughter. Yes.
You know, I'm happy to celebrate my relationship with my loved one any day. You
Right.
know, Valentine's Day, if it's gonna be official, this is a good thing, and we can
Yeah.
do that. But I do think of Adam's creed of let's not live by fake bookmarks, or what is it called? Fake chapter headings. Let's not let the way that we feel about others and express that feeling depend on what Hallmark decides.
Then you got to make sure those other 364 days of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
you're
or
work-
at least adequate.
Yeah, at the very least.
Our dear departed friend Ryan Davis, when I asked him what he was doing for either St. Patrick's Day or New Year's one year, said, "Look, I don't do anything on St. Patrick's Day or New Year's because those are the days that people who are amateurs at
Yeah.
drinking too much
Right.
go out and make asses of themselves. I want nothing to do with that. I go out the rest of the time when the professionals are out.
So Valentine's
Valentine's
Day
Day is for amateurs.
for
Yeah.
slacker romantics.
Yeah,
That's why we're watching the Lego Movie too.
it's good. I'd like you know what's fun to do on Valentine's Day? Go to the grocery store. See who's at the grocery store at like 7:30 at night on Valentine's Day.
People watching.
People watching is very good on Valentine's Day
That's a
grocery
good-
store.
That's a fun couple activity.
Yeah.
When you guys were kids, was Valentine's Day a big thing in the classroom, like handing out the cards?
I
Because
choose you.
kind of like that.
Very much like that.
But every kid had to, or not had to, but it was maybe customary to have your almost trading card like you have a Valentine set of things and you hand them out to people
Yeah.
with candies.
Yeah, we did that.
We didn't do candies.
We did. Everyone brought a card for everyone else.
Yes.
Right. And you would buy like perforated sheets of cards that would have like superheroes on them with,
Yeah.
with bad Valentine's Day puns, and you put them in an envelope, and everyone gets a card from everyone else.
Yeah.
We have rules about that at our school now. Like we got a note from the teacher. Well, we get a note from the teacher every Monday. But
Yeah.
But this one was like, hey, the parents voted not to put candy in the Valentines because we're in the Halloween to Easter candy nightmare half year. You know, there's just always candy around. And they asked us not to address the Valentines to individual children so that we don't have so the kids don't have to spend 3 hours figuring out that this Valentine goes with this kid. They're just all signed by the person, and then you drop one in each kid's envelope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're very efficient.
You know, as long as we're talking about kids here,
Yeah.
let me
You have kids.
Let me tell you something.
hit me.
We were standing here in the tested office maybe 5 days ago, and your season's greetings card is still magnet attached to them.
The one from 2015.
to the refrigerator. No, the latest one.
Oh, okay.
And I turned to Norm and I say, after giving this a lot of thought, I think I might have to confess, objectively, Will has the cutest kid.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. How could a
It's
father?
too early to judge Norm's kid.
How
For
could,
one,
first of all, how could a father say that
it's pretty.
of
I hope your
anyone
kids don't
else's
listen
child?
to the podcast. Good God, man.
And the truth is, I don't know your kid's inner demons. I don't see the monster that you probably see
She's a
from
pretty good
from
kid,
time
actually.
to time.
So you're projecting really your own current rearing of your own children.
Partially, but I've also seen how delightful your child is, and she has this glow about her that is just so adorable.
See, here's what I think is happening. There's a. You might not know this yet, Norm, but Jeremy definitely does. Like the difficulty level of the child goes up in fits and starts, and there's some glorious times when your capability as a parent are superior or even with the difficulty level of the child. So it's like when you're playing a video game and you're really good at the basic mechanic. Like if you pick up a new Super Mario Brothers at this point, you're going to be okay at it because you played every other Super Mario Brothers and it's pretty straightforward. Now, at some point in my future, I know that there's going to be like girl click business that's going to far exceed my capability as a parent. And that's probably at best third grade, but maybe as soon as like first grade.
So you just want to get ahead of it.
So look, you can try to get out ahead of that stuff, but it's hopeless. You are in like prepubescent nightmare zone.
I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Yeah, that seems like that's too many kids. Like maintaining a zone coverage over the child seems like definitely the way to go. And B, that's hard problems. Like most of my problems are like, hey, you scraped your knee. Do you want a Band-Aid or can I just give you a hug?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like those are straightforward problems. It's, hey, I don't want to eat anything but chicken nuggets for the next 3 weeks. Well, that's fine. We'll just starve you out and eventually you eat real food again.
When I told this to Norm, he was immediately upset and he got competitive.
Well, it's because you told his kid his kid was ugly.
Yeah, that's basically.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I would
you
never
said-
say
you
that.
said my
we all
child-
think that,
Yeah.
but nobody says
Does
that.
Danica listen to this podcast?
No,
All right,
absolutely
thank
not.
goodness.
Absolutely. The child doesn't. He doesn't. either.
Gary's significant other does though. She'll report
Oh,
back.
no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's all.
Yeah.
all
I mean, well,
it's all in the
you got a
circle.
cute kid, but I told Jeremy, I said, I think that your kid has an advantage because she's more interactive because she can talk.
my kids can talk. They're really good at it.
Yeah, they are very good talkers.
Well, I'm not. I don't.
Oh,
I'm
you're-
not saying about your kid. I'm
you're
compared
talking
to
about
compared
my
to mine,
kid
yeah.
looks a lot like your kid too. Like there's a resemblance there.
Oh, us two?
yeah.
Well, that's why I was curious what, and they're a couple years apart,
Yeah.
but close. And
They
so,
share similar interests: candy,
they both-
bicycles.
Trolls.
Yeah, trolls.
The movie.
Yeah.
So I was curious what your daughter thought of Lego Movie 2.
Whoa!
Whoa,
Well,
that is
that's-
an incredible. You're getting into norm territory here with that good segue.
I
Hey.
know we can't actually talk about it.
because I haven't seen it yet.
You
But
haven't-
let's. I think it's time for us to move into our next segment.
Which
then.
what's that? Are we skipping top?
Yeah, we're going to pop culture.
She really loved Lego Movie too.
Yeah, like
She thought it was very good.
and she loves Trolls. What's
loves
what's another
Trolls.
movie that she loves?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not so keen on Ralph Breaks the Internet. We haven't watched it 35 times, so it's difficult to say whether she likes it or not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
She likes Trolls a lot. She liked Boss Baby.
Okay.
She liked the Minions movies.
Yeah, very similar interest to my
Yeah,
daughter.
she likes physical comedy and she likes songs.
So I was blown away by Lego Movie 2, and I liked the first one, but I liked the second one a lot more.
See,
Because it did that thing, and I won't spoil anything, but I think we can talk
This
about
is usually what Jeremy says right before he spoils
we can
something.
talk about Lego Movie 1.
We can spoil
right?
Lego Movie 1
Yeah.
at this
The
point.
ending
That's 5 years old.
The ending to Lego Movie 1 was one of the best parts because it added a whole nother layer to the story. You found out what was actually going on. That it wasn't this Lego fantasy that existed for the sake of Lego.
It took a step back.
It was actually
Well,
all
but gave
happening
context.
in the mind of
Yeah.
a child. And and it had to do with his relationship with his father, and it became very interesting and real.
But it was also about the father's relationship with toys and
Yes.
how the death of imagination and all sorts of other interesting adult concepts.
Will Ferrell's a jerk.
Well, Will Ferrell is a man who doesn't want his toys messed up.
And
I completely relate.
I related
Yeah.
to this story because I am the one. Actually, my son and I've talked about this. We had a reverse experience because I'm the one who's always saying, "Don't follow the directions.
Yeah.
Build something with these Lego parts. Use your imagination." And he likes to follow the directions. When he's finished, he's finished.
I did find that the core conflict between Lego as a consumer product where you're supposed to buy as much as you can and put together as much as you can,
Yeah.
and a movie that tells you basically late stage capitalism and consumerism is bad as the core tenet was a fascinating.
They were at odds.
Yes.
But guess what? The movie made a bunch of money, so they won.
Everybody wins.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah.
So, but the second one,
Yes.
it doesn't relegate that element to the end.
Well, it
Let's
can't.
just say
I mean, that twist doesn't work the second time out.
Right, and so it dealt with a different. It wasn't a father-son thing anymore. It's something else, and that what it does deal with hit home for me in a way that it mirrored my existence.
I would say that probably replicated that hit home for you because of
Yeah.
some different life choices that you and I have made.
Yes.
In a way that it didn't land for me at all.
Fine.
Yeah.
But and maybe that's part of why my daughter liked it so much too, because it mirrored her existence in many respects. But I also think that she just liked the aesthetic of it, that she liked the girliness of it that was embedded in this, like what you would have assumed would be like this boy sci-fi action movie.
My daughter loved yes. Anytime it's one of the things that's been really eye-opening for me about representation in film and why that's important is that watching her watch a movie that has a female protagonist is multiple
Yeah.
in this case. Yeah, but like even going back to the Trolls, where Anna Kendrick's character is essentially the lead through the entire film, like they really resonate in a way that other stuff does not as much. And that was definitely the case with this. Like she was very excited about this movie, and it really landed for her. And she came out and wanted to, you can tell whether she likes a movie or not because she comes out and she asks to listen to the soundtrack on Spotify on the way home.
Wow.
And we've been listening to the Lego Movie 2 soundtrack pretty much nonstop.
Is there another earworm?
There is definitely.
They're designed earworms in that film.
You'll think it's so self-referential. It's funny. You'll like the script. You will dig on your own level.
Okay.
Because there are many references that you will just say like that was written for me.
Great.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear what you think.
I'm gonna see it but today for when people are listening. to
Green
this.
Lantern still sucks.
It is a very, very unique movie. I really dug it. And it made me, for like more than ever, wonder, like, what if these guys had done Solo? Because this movie is so much better than Solo.
Well, but
in
Lord
my
Miller,
opinion.
did they direct this or did they just write it?
I think they stored it.
They just wrote it, yeah.
But still, their guiding hand. They're heavily involved in the process, just like what's into the Spider-Verse.
But so for me, I was a little bit underwhelmed because I felt like they relied on the real. I don't want to spoil anything. They relied on the real world stuff in a way that I found pretty unsatisfying, and it didn't have the same kind of heart that ties the whole thing together that the first one did. Like there was a lot of really poignant character moments in the first one when Wild Style Elizabeth Banks's character, it has this whole facade, and then they unveil stuff about her character in the first 10 minutes of this movie that kind of lessens the impact of the previous. Like a good sequel should make the first movie better, and this movie does not make the first movie better.
Interesting note: the Lego Movie 2 was directed not by Chris Miller, Phil Lord. It was co-directed by Mike Mitchell and Trisha Gum. Mike Mitchell also directed Trolls,
but then also a bunch of other
and Shrek Forever After.
Yeah.
And
then it
Alvin
goes downhill
Chipmunks.
from there.
It goes straight downhill because his directorial debut, Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
Well, okay, now, so you're saying there's an early peak and then a deep trough and then back up to the peaks of Trolls.
Sure.
I don't think this movie was. I don't know. I felt it's funny. I talked with Kenji from Serious Eats about this on Twitter the other night, and I feel like at the end of the first movie when you get that reveal of what's going on, it makes the whole movie is much better as a result of that twist. A good twist lifts the entire movie.
I felt that way about this one, but times two.
Yeah.
I mean, it really resonated for me, and I understand maybe if you don't have the same kind of life experience. It was the same kind of thing like watching or reading Ready Player One, where I was just like, okay, I had the Monty Python Holy Grail script printed from my dot matrix and hung on my wall in its entirety, and I knew every word of that film. So when they went into the film in the book, I'm like, well, I don't have any objectivity left here. This is an amazing book. This is
mirroring
me.
my life. Maybe Jeremy is Ernie Klein. Who knew?
Wish fulfillment.
Right. So in the same way that if you don't have the same life experience as I do, then maybe the movie doesn't resonate as well. But in any case,
it's worth watching for sure. The animation's lovely.
It is a beautiful film.
Yeah.
Well, this Lego Movie 2 sounds like a film that works on multiple levels for both adults and kids. Another movie coming out this year, different production company. It's from The Mouse, but maybe this movie geared maybe more toward nostalgia. I don't know. Would you say Aladdin is a kids movie, or will it be a movie for adults who appreciated and love the original animated version?
Have you gone back and watched? We all love Robin Williams' performance in that first movie, but if you've gone back and watched it lately,
Yes.
I have not.
it is incredibly dated to the point that it is unwatchable for a small child today.
Because of the references?
Because there's a ton of reference. Like Genie is an inscrutable character to a 6-year-old, and where he read funny and man. I mean, I saw Aladdin when I was probably 15 or 16.
Yeah.
It was very funny and very referential. It was perfect for me at that age. I don't know that the Genie has ever been a character that kids get. I could be wrong.
The Genie, you're saying, was a character for adults.
I think the Genie was a character for adults in that first movie.
But the zaniness of the Genie was
Like there was a high energy, yeah.
And that was enough for kids.
And also
Fast talking Robin Williams, high energy.
I don't know if it was enough for kids because when we tried to watch Aladdin, she was just like, I don't like the genie parts. My anecdotes. The thing about Genie is in that animated movie, he's animated in a way that's not traditional for Disney movies. Disney animation usually tends toward the lifelike, so they're not doing things like Looney Tunes stuff like bulging eyes out and stretching limbs and all of that stuff. And the genie, very much because he's an amorphous, gaseous cloud of genie, like stretches and moves in a much more kind of 50s era Looney Tunes way. There's much more movement, or even like Tom and Jerry, where his physical characteristics are exaggerating when he's reacting to something, and his ego and his id are written on his face in a way that most Disney animation doesn't.
It's good line.
It was also
I like that.
anachronistic. I mean,
we're working on stuff.
the genie also referenced modern day culture in a film that was supposed to be timeless. He did Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonations.
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point being, how will that translate, or may not translate, or we don't know if this is something that they're aiming for with the live action adaptation of Aladdin coming out this year.
So
that we saw first footage of recently.
Well, you may have.
Oh, you didn't watch the trailer?
No, I don't watch the trailer.
Did you check your Twitter feed?
Maybe you didn't hear about this.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you there's a wonderful feature on Twitter in 2018 called Hide Mentions from People Who Don't Follow Me. And when you click that, all the people who think at Will Smith on Twitter is an actor and not me go away. They just disappear. It's like they were never there. So tens of thousands of people added me on Tuesday. I have no idea. I didn't see any of them.
Nice.
It's great. Thanks, Twitter. It's the one nice thing they've ever done for me.
Well, you see your numbers go up.
No.
But that's
No,
it.
they added. They didn't add him.
If they add me, I don't
him.
see it.
I thought you said add.
No.
Gotcha.
I mean, if they add me, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, how many of these live action Disney remakes have landed? Like, Jungle Book seemed like it was better maybe than the original Jungle Book because it actually had a plot.
Yeah. John Favreau. But they got Lion King coming up.
Beauty and the Beast. They did. They
Beauty
did
and the Beast.
Cinderella.
Like, I bought that. I haven't ever watched it. I kind of thought I wanted to watch it, and then I heard the singing was bad, and I don't like. You're not going to beat Angela Lansbury singing "Tales as Old as Time."
No. But kids like Hermione.
I mean, Hermione's good.
What was the? It's all started with Maleficent, right? Sleeping Beauty.
No,
Maleficent.
they've been doing them before that, haven't they?
I think it really blew up with Maleficent. Then Alice in Wonderland made $1 billion worldwide.
I don't know.
Then, and then now it's like one every year.
Why aren't
Oh, go ahead.
why aren't they doing Little Mermaid? Like that was the biggest hit,
That's
right?
I don't think that's
They
that,
can't
that
make
would one
people
that
breathe
would
water.
Not translate.
You couldn't do
Why,
it?
have you not seen Aquaman?
Yeah,
It would just
no, I
be
haven't seen
Aquaman.
Aquaman. The thing about Little Mermaid is it's a really creepy story when you get down to
It's
it.
absolutely
She's
creepy.
16.
It does not. Has
Do you
not
think that's
Yeah.
why? It's like they
I mean-
they realized that and they said, no, we can't update that.
Yeah, I don't think. I think that discussions probably were had, and I don't think it works.
I'd much rather them make a live action Ponyo if you're going to do the Little Mermaid story.
Let's talk about Disney, right? A Great Mouse Detective.
No, thanks.
Oh God, that would be amazing. CG mice.
Fox and the Hound, like
the
an actual
Rescuers.
dog and fight.
The Rescuers. Mark my words.
Okay, so
Black Cauldron.
but that's a book adaptation at that point.
if you want live action mice, I'd rather see Secret of Nim or Mouse Guard.
But Mouse Guard is happening, and Secret of Nim is not Disney.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
No.
It's when Don Bluth left.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Former Disney.
Former Disney.
Huh?
Yeah, first film they did by themselves. That's why it's so dark.
It's really dark.
The
It's
Dragon
like
Slayer.
Watership Down.
Dragon
dark.
Slayer era.
That's right. That's right.
Pete's Dragon. They're redoing Pete's Dragon.
They did that. Yeah.
Is it already out?
They did it years
Yeah,
ago.
many
2
years
years ago.
Huh.
Well,
I
that
like
wa-
Pete's Dragon when I was a
That
kid.
wasn't bad.
But Aladdin, people, it's controversial.
Well,
People talk about it.
all we've seen is a trailer, and if the trailer's horrible, everyone's gonna think it's gonna be a horrible movie.
They got people talking. They got us talking. The genie does. It is a creative choice the way they have portrayed the genie. It is a different than
What does that mean?
they have Will Smith's face
Yep.
on a kind of floating CG body.
It's pretty poor.
It's
Like
It
the
is-
the effect.
It looked like they painted a dude. It looked like he blued himself.
well, I think what the problem
Right.
that a lot of people have with it is it's not a caricatured face. It is just Will Smith's face. Turned blue. It's very Avatar-like in that way. And I'm sure it's animated. I'm sure there's a lot of work in the motion performance capture.
It doesn't look finished.
But I think what a lot of people are reeling from is that one, it's not Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And it's tough to replace him, even though they had a different voice actor for the genie when they did the Aladdin TV show and the sequels. But two, the genie was always proportioned not like a human. He had a big chin.
That's not the problem here. The problem here is that it's just Will Smith being Will Smith and looking like a bad CG effect. I mean, Robin Williams can be anybody. He comes out, well, obviously he's like always Robin Williams, but he's so manic that he's you can't imitate him. No one else can replace that role. And if you're going to come out and do the genie, you can't just like come out and be Will Smith, right?
And does that play for the kids
No,
today?
I don't think these live
would it?
action movies are for the kids. I think they're for the olds.
That's
who have
exactly what I started
nostalgia.
with, right? This is
Yeah.
this is for the nostalgia. This is for the olds to bring their kids to.
Hey, this is what I. But I mean, so the thing is, when we were in the theater and the Beauty and the Beast trailer came on, which just to be clear, that first Beauty and the Beast trailer is essentially the live action remake of the original Beauty and the Beast animated trailer from like 1992 or whatever. And my daughter looked over at me and we saw the trailer. She's like, "I want to see that movie." I was like, "I have good news for you, kid. We can watch that tomorrow night." And we went back and we watched the animated one. She was clapping at the end of that movie because it's a perfect movie, right? It's an incredible.
But she didn't like the genie.
She hasn't seen the genie yet.
Oh, okay.
She didn't like the genie. She wasn't like, she likes the story. To her, Aladdin is about Jasmine, right? It's the story of Jasmine,
Oh, interesting.
and like she's less interested in what's his name,
Aladdin.
Yeah, the guy the
Jafar.
movie's about. She's scared of Jafar. She has the right reaction to Jafar, and then
Good.
the genie is just this inscrutable magic man.
Yeah.
They already did a live action adaptation of Aladdin in the musical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was a very successful musical, still playing on Broadway, and that's
But-
a fine retelling.
Does the genie in the musical act like Robin Williams?
No, it's its own character.
That's interesting.
And a very great portrayal of this very flamboyant genie character, with the same type of anachronistic undertones, very modern references, but kind of owns it as its own. Not face painted blue.
Yeah.
Character, live performer.
The genie in the Disneyland performance of Aladdin does imitate Robin Williams. Very much so.
Yeah.
It turns out, and I didn't know this until recently, and I guess a lot of people learned it today because it was a Today I Learned on Reddit, but apparently Robin Williams' will forbids Disney from using any of his sound clips to create a sequel to Aladdin.
Good for him.
Using the clips, which they had enough of. They said that they had enough clips in order to make a sequel.
What do you mean?
Using
Just-
Robin Williams' voice from
just
the
from
cutting
riffing?
room floor.
outtakes.
Wow.
Well, could you imagine? I mean, it's like 20 jokes a minute.
They locked him in the booth, and 3 hours later he came out with 6 movies worth of material.
So I think it's like 20 years or something like that. They can't use any of his voices to create another genie.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think the first live action remake was the 101 Dalmatians, wasn't it? The one with Glenn Close.
Yes, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was decades ago. But I'm talking about the wave of like.
I'd like to see A Lady and the Tramp. That's a good.
Doo-doo.
I don't need to see that.
It's a good movie.
What are you going to do? They're going to be CG dogs anyway.
No, they can use real dogs
They-
and just
they're-
make their mouths move.
Mm,
It'd be like show dogs. Same thing.
they're not going to eat
Movie's great.
spaghetti and like kiss.
I bet they would. If you put enough meat on that spaghetti, they'll do whatever you want them to do. You get dog. You know, it's a lovely Disney movie that you don't see anymore. It's
Frozen.
hard to find. Frozen seems okay. I was going to say The Incredible Journey, but we can talk about Frozen instead.
just
It's
do-
Oh, they're doing
topical.
Dumbo this year.
Yeah.
You're going to use a
Dumbo.
real elephant for that?
No, CG.
Uh,
The trailer looks good though.
I wonder if the crows scene is going to be the same.
They've done Peter Pan, of
God, I
course.
hope not.
I ain't never seen an elephant fly.
It's
Yeah,
really
no.
racist.
No.
Yeah.
That and the
they're doing
Pinocchio.
Mulan next year.
Pinocchio?
Oh my gosh.
Why not Pinocchio? Because there's 2/3 of that movie that are unwatchable in modern context.
Dude, the last half of that film is
Yeah.
very creepy.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they're working on it though. With performance capture, Andy Serkis, Pinocchio,
Yeah.
a one character. Ooh, could be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, really terrifying.
How about a new idea?
Yeah. How about a new idea? But some old ideas are great.
No,
Bring
the
them
old
back.
ideas are all bad.
What if it's Jean-Luc Picard? What if it's
Nope,
Patrick
that
Stewart
seems
coming
bad.
back for a Star Trek sequel for
No, I'm
3
good.
seasons potentially?
I've seen what a Star Trek sequel looks like. I've watched all of Discovery.
You're not into
I'm
this?
okay.
You're not into Patrick Stewart coming back for
No,
Star
I'm
Trek?
okay with that. I was look. Sometimes it's good to have somebody devil's advocating, so there's somebody to talk
Okay.
again. Yeah,
Thanks for letting me in on
Well, I
that.
thought that if Will wasn't going to get excited about the series, then the news that Whoopi Goldberg is interested
What?
as coming back as Guinan
What?
for the series
I would watch that.
might sign you up for it.
Buddy cop show with Patrick Stewart and Guinan solving Federation crime. I would
think
watch
this-
that all day long.
There could be no better news for a Picard show. than to
Cagney and
bring-
Lacey,
bring
Picard and
Guinan.
Guinan.
So is she well loved in the Star Trek community? Because
Oh my God, yes.
my family, my wife and son watched these with me for the first time. Like, obviously, they've never seen these before. And when the Guinan episodes would come up, my wife in particular was very excited. So I didn't know like if her
you don't like
affection-
Guinan?
No, I thought she was fine. I just didn't give the show's extra credit if I saw her
Guinan's
name.
the heart of the Enterprise, man.
You really feel that way?
Yeah.
All right.
She's the ethical keel that steers the ship straight. When somebody needs advice, they need to know what to do. They need a wise ear.
To be
There's
clear,
a
She's
TV
great at
trope.
that.
the news is
even-
that she's expressed interest. She wants to do it. The show may not have space for her. They have not reached out to her. We know publicly, but we can all.
Oh, so
dream and
she's
hope
Hail
now.
Marrying is
Yeah.
what's happening
Yeah.
here.
I think it would make so much sense. I mean,
Did they
it's
ever fulfill her story? Did they
Well,
ever tell it?
not
Did you
really.
see Star Trek Generations?
No.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no, I saw Generations. Is she in that?
she's in the very beginning.
Huh.
Oh, man, I
It's
need
her
to go back-
people. The villain, Soren, is one of her people. They live very long lives.
Huh.
Their planet was destroyed. She's a refugee,
Yeah. Well, they explained that in the show.
and she is a important part because she was pulled into the Nexus and then pulled back out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Did it hurt?
Yeah, she didn't want to leave. Who would want to leave the Nexus? Picard had a family in the Nexus.
Wait,
It's
the
all he
Nexus
ever
is
wanted.
good? I never saw Generations.
Oh, it's where he found Kirk. He
Oh.
pulled Kirk out of the Nexus too. Horseback
Nexus.
riding.
This is like what Kingpin wanted for his family, like created
Yes.
a temporal nexus.
Yes.
His heart's desire
He
that he finds Kirk. That's Picard's heart's desire.
No. Picard's heart's desire was to have a family.
Oh,
Was
like,
to be
like with the
papa.
pan flute.
Because the Generations opens with his brother. It's super sad. Okay, let's go to some history, some Star Trek history.
Yeah,
Do you
learn us
remember
up.
Star Trek best 2-part series, best of both worlds?
Yeah,
Cliffhanger. Picard becomes the Borg.
longest 3 months of my life.
Right, end of season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes back
Resistance
season
is
4.
futile.
They rescue him. Beverly Crusher is the only one who can surgically remove the Borg implants.
Yeah.
And there's there's an episode where he goes back to Earth and he needs to decompress. He needs to have shore leave, take time off, and he goes to the vineyard to meet his brother and his brother's son, his nephew,
Yeah.
in France, because he's not, even though he
He's
has a British
English
accent,
France.
he's English
Yeah,
France.
English
Sure.
French.
In the future, it's all back to
Yeah.
England anyway. And I believe the episode, what is it called? Family?
Can I just say that when Avery grows up, I sincerely hope they don't watch Star Trek. I hope Norm recounts every episode for them around the campfire.
This is what the dream of the post-apocalypse, right?
This is
what
basically
happened
this is
in
Norm's
Reign of
yesterday.
Fire.
No, this is Norm's yesterday.
Yeah, this is
Norm
Star Trek
wakes up.
yesterday.
He's the only one that remembers Star Trek, and
I come up
suddenly
with
he
this-
becomes the greatest TV producer of all time. it's an unbroken string of hits, except for maybe Voyager. It's not so
Doctor,
good.
yeah, and
I don't know.
and Dr. Pulaski. So the episode's called Family. It's season 4, episode 2. So immediately after he gets rescued from being Borg, there's a whole episode where he goes back to Earth and he has this great this exploration of his family and his brother and his nephew in France. In the very beginning of Star Trek Generations, as they're giving Worf a promotion, he gets a notification and he goes to his ready room and he reads it, and Counselor Troy texts him is wrong. There was a fire. His brother died.
Oh
His
man!
nephew died.
So his family,
His
he's
family's
ripped
dead.
loose from the keel.
And the Picard family line dies with him. And one of his regrets is that he was a career man, devoted his life to Starfleet, and never had a family. And so when he goes into the Nexus, which is the red matter of that film, where the Klingons, working with Soren, have decided to destroy suns, explode suns, to push using gravitational waves to push the Nexus into the line of a planet, so that he could go inside the Nexus, which is a weird temporal
It's a MacGuffin.
space where you get your heart's desire. His heart's desire is to have a family, and he has to pull himself away from that because Guinan's in the Nexus too. The Nexus has no space and time, and Guinan's in there before she met Picard, because Guinan at some point was also trapped in the Nexus and was pulled out when they were rescued. And so she meets Picard there, and she says, "This isn't real."
So it's past Guinan.
Past Guinan meets and says, "This isn't real. You're still your ship's in danger." And Picard goes, "I need help. I need to fight Soren on the planet." Well, the Nexus can throw you out anywhere in space and time, so he wants to be thrown out just maybe half an hour before that sun is destroyed to stop Malcolm McDowell on that planet. And he goes, "Well,
seems a little convenient.
there's another person in the Nexus that might be able to help you. It's another captain of the Enterprise."
Yeah.
And so he pulls Jim Kirk out. And then, of course, Jim Kirk falls off into a bunch of rocks and dies. And it's a very anticlimactic
Sounds like kind of
death.
a bummer.
It is good. It's a big bummer.
Daddy, tell us another one.
Tell us the story of First Contact. Tell us the story of the sex planet, Norm.
Oh, my God. Oh, Ryza. No, you're not old enough for Ryza there. Not yet. Not yet.
Tell us the story of the Green Ladies.
Oh, no. No.
Oh, Papa.
Where were we?
Guinan and Trek.
Guinan. We want Guinan and Trek. Hey,
I think
another thing that I saw on the internet, and this is more behind the scenes, but you know the opening of Star Trek?
Yeah, it changed for the first few seasons. We're talking about Next Gen?
Next Gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Right.
real planets, and then it was fake planets because they were easier to make.
But the ship was always a practical effect.
Was it originally real? They were photos?
They looked like Voyager era photos of Saturn and Jupiter and stuff. They might have been matte paintings, but they looked real.
But they had computerized control of that miniature, that really big. It's actually like a 10-foot long.
Have you ever seen it?
I've never seen it in person.
Oh, I saw it at the Air and Space Museum like 20 years ago, probably, and it was huge.
not the original series, Next Generation.
The TNG one.
The TNG one.
Yeah.
They actually filmed it upside down.
Yeah,
the
because
ship.
it wasn't structurally sound the other way,
And
right?
then the cameras moved around it, and it could
Okay.
have multi-axis control. But in that opening, there's the final shot as Enterprise is coming into frame, the saucer section.
Yeah.
And you see the back of the saucer section, and there is the
bridge?
Not the bridge. It's the back of the bridge. It's
like the ready room and the
conference
room.
Yeah.
With that long table. There's a little bit of a animation there. That is a pencil sketch. And
Really?
you can see on Twitter, if you follow, I think a Trek Core tweeted about this. It is a pencil animation of that conference room that when it was broadcast on TV, you couldn't realize
That's
it.
bonkers.
And
But it was on the film.
It was all shot on film.
That's
And
amazing.
it was a cool composite. It's a little behind the scenes.
I like that.
Are you guys caught up on Discovery
I only seen the first episode this season.
of the second season? It picks up. It's like it's amazing to see what a big budget Trek TV series looks like
Today.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they're clearly spending a boatload of money, and like they're getting it's interesting. It's not very Trekky.
Next up, Pixar
Yeah.
has released its newest Spark shorts.
Right.
What's a Spark short?
Do you know how this is different from a regular short?
No.
Or
tell me.
Sparks.
Apparently, this was unveiled last month, and it's really weird and uncomfortable not to have known about this because I'd like to think of myself as a Pixar fan.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
But
until now.
inside Pixar, they have opened up a series of shorts to be produced by new directors. They give them a modest budget and a limited amount of time. I want to say like 6 months. And they say, go to work, do your best. And they've released 2 of them now. And then a third one is coming out later this month. The newest one is called Smash and Grab. And they're both on YouTube. The one from last month is also on YouTube. It's called Pearl.
Pearl was really good.
P-U-R-L. Yeah, but you understand it's not...
I didn't realize it was yeah.
Yeah, Spark.
Yeah.
Spark short. It's not a Pixar short. You wouldn't see these in front of a film, particularly Pearl, because it like there's some blue humor in there. At one point, she says, "What's the difference between a porcupine and a BMW? In a BMW, the pricks are on the inside."
Wow.
Right? And like,
Wow.
it's a little.
You could play that in the like the 6-year-olds aren't going to get that.
Maybe
It's going to fly right over them.
At another point, she says, "Let's kick their ass."
Well,
It's like a little. What? It's like a
Wow.
little more. It's a little more DreamWorks and Disney.
that's true.
Right? And so I think it's cool that they are letting directors, make a different kind of short using their imagination and limited budgets. And the Smash and Grab one is sci-fi and super cool. I enjoyed it. It's about the story of 2 robots. Some people compared it to the WALL-E robot universe. I don't see it, but it's a good story. It's a good story, and I look forward to seeing this third one coming out this month.
I mean, it makes sense. There's the creative folks at Pixar. They want to retain the animators, the storytellers. They want to cultivate that culture, and there are a lot of constraints that even the shorts have. Bao was probably one of the riskier ones from a story perspective because it may not resonate with all the viewers, but they can't all be like night and day.
I mean, and if you think about it, like there's 20 films. They've had 18 directors or something. They started doing co-directors a few years ago, I think, so that they could get like they're for a long time. For the first 10 years of Pixar, almost all the movies were directed by 3 or 4 people.
Yeah,
and you were looking at if you had aspirations to direct a Pixar movie, basically there was no end.
it's like being an astronaut.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, though, they take applications for astronauts. Is the difference?
Well, one thing that was left at the end of this is that this may be, because it's all still paid for by the mouse, it may be content that they're experimenting with to be part of Disney Plus, the subscription service.
No, it is. They've said that.
So it is something that may be exclusive.
This is the beginning of a series, and I think in future ones will be on Disney Plus. But it's just neat that they're sort of implementing a university art school kind of experience into the corporate.
Yeah. I mean, is that enough? Is that compelling enough? I mean, obviously you're not subscribing to Disney Plus just to watch these Pixar shorts.
Is it enough for whom?
But is it enough of a value add for Disney Plus subscribers?
Oh, I don't think it's going to make or break. It's not going to make anybody subscribe, but it certainly is a cool ad.
Then why not just put it out on YouTube? Why not?
Well, that's what they're doing right now.
Well, they are so far.
Right. So I would hate for this just to be gated off later and be turned into a Disney Plus exclusive.
Like it's not like Disney has a dearth of potential content for Disney Plus exclusives, right? You like there's hundreds of Disney shorts that are just you can't get legally now. There's no DVDs, there's no Blu-ray releases that are readily available. And if you want to watch those Disney shorts from like the golden age of animation, there's no way to get them. Warner has the same problem with Looney Tunes, where there's only a few hundred that are actually legally available, and the others of the thousands are just lost to time or buried in the vaults.
And part of the Disney Plus strategy, as Bob Iger said, is to not only develop internal stuff and release some stuff from the vault, but also to do what Netflix and Hulu have done and license third-party content and work with third-party producers as well.
Well, and also if they own the entire site and they're not having to give if they're not paying Comcast and other over cable networks for access, then presumably they can do what CBS has done with Discovery and with the other CBS original shows.
Well, I hope Disney has more hits than Discovery.
Well, yes, we would hope so.
Or CBS, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, CBS.
Yeah. Twilight Zone's coming.
That Twilight Zone. It looks good.
I'm
looks
excited
interesting.
for it. Hey, you mentioned yesterday earlier. That's a new trailer for film. Jeremy, have you seen this?
No.
What?
What is it? Is it a Beatles documentary?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh, it is a Beatles thing, isn't it?
It is a Beatles thing.
I saw your link. I only know the summary.
Oh,
the one-liner.
Let me give you the one-line summary.
Yeah.
It is a film about a world in which one person is the only person who remembers the Beatles, and
is it like far future?
No. Modern day.
Okay.
Modern day. It's science fiction.
Okay.
He wakes up.
Yeah.
The conceit is he wakes up and no one else knows about the Beatles. He's the only one who remembers. And so he starts taking credit for their songs.
Ooh.
And becomes the greatest singer-songwriter in the world.
Okay.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah. So wait.
He's both John and Paul.
Right. So is all of the Beatles music actually lost? No, like you can't even find it on YouTube.
There's a shot of him googling Beatles.
And it's not on Google.
It takes him to the Wikipedia page.
He doesn't need to watch
Beatles.
I'm gonna lay out. There's a struggling musician.
Daddy, tell me about the
yesterday trailer.
Tell me about Danny Boyle's latest movie, Daddy. Papa.
Is this Danny Boyle?
It's Danny Boyle.
Oh, wow.
It's Danny Boyle.
Now you have my attention.
Struggling musician. Last gig for 4 kids. He's like, I can't make it as a musician anymore. His girlfriend, school teacher, buys him a guitar, acoustic guitar, and he starts strumming for them. And he sings. Struggling musician.
He wishes. He essentially makes the big wish. He's like, I wish.
He's like, it's only if miracles could happen.
Yes.
Miracles can't happen. Maybe they can. And then suddenly one night, he gets into a bike accident. There's a strange phenomenon. The world loses power for but a moment.
When he has the bike accident.
Right as the bike accident. He wakes up, loses 2 teeth, and jumps forward time. He gets a guitar from his girlfriend. He starts strumming for his friends, and he sings Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And they're
the girlfriend
shaken.
They
They're
look
shook.
at him and goes, "That's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard."
Did you write
Did
that?
you write this? He goes, "No, this is the Beatles. This is one of the." And he goes, "Who are the Beatles?"
Yeah.
And so it jumps to him running to his computer, Googling John Paul Ringo, and then getting
George.
George, and he gets John Paul II. He doesn't find the Beatles.
Yeah, he searches for the Beatles and he gets the Wikipedia page for insects.
And he
Beatles.
says, "Do you really not know who the Beatles are?" He goes, "Well, that puts him in and he goes, no." Well, that puts himself in a predicament, and it cuts to viral videos being spread of him singing Beatles songs, and he gets universal, worldwide acclaim for being the greatest singer-songwriter ever. And yet, how does that change a
Like
person?
cut to him doing arena shows and like Dakota, like him sitting on the couch on James Marsden.
Not James Corden.
James Corden.
Jesus,
Marsden.
well, James Corden, and be like, "Come up with a song right now," and he just sings a classic Beatles song to a famous actress, and then it's about his relationship with his girlfriend and what success means, but it's also about the enduring power of these songs and what Beatles songs mean in today's world of pop culture.
Who's to say that John and Paul didn't do this, right? That's really what I take away.
This is the kind of like fantasy head game that everyone thinks about. What if?
Yeah.
Well, what does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to be creative? What is the spark, and how do you run with it? And it's wonderful.
It's a
The
good
trailers,
trailer?
the
trailer
trailers,
is
the one that I saw is
really
very good.
Really?
Yeah. There's two versions of the trailer out there. That one that we saw.
The
where
Twitter one
opens-
is good.
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter has it. I think it has it in bed. And it might be the international trailer, but
Yeah.
there's one moment in the trailer where he's on James Corden,
Mm-hmm.
and James Corden goes, "Well, funny, there are two men here who claim that they wrote the songs to this," and then you see in the audience just two pairs of feet walking, and one's barefoot, and so you don't know who they are, and so
that's
the
where it
illusion
drops
is
off.
is this? Could it be
I'm
McCartney
Yeah.
look.
And Ringo.
and Ringo?
My feeling on Danny Boyle movies,
Yes.
is that really
He started out really, really good.
I don't think he's made a bad movie. He's made some kind of boring movies.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're still interesting.
I didn't care for The Beach too much.
I might not have ever watched The Beach.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Leo DiCaprio when he
On
swims
the
to
beach.
the beach and
Yep.
there's like
That
some
was Danny
sinister thing
Boyle?
happening?
I believe so.
That wasn't.
I don't think that was Danny Boyle, dude.
Look it up. The one that
Train Spotting is incredible.
Trainspotting is
28 Days Later
phenomenal.
is a
It's great.
incredible film.
Absolutely. What's the first one he made? Shallow Grave. Fantastic.
I never saw that.
Well, you got to see that because
Okay.
that's like his first amazing.
I thought 28 Days Later
before
was
anybody knew
28
him.
Days Later is pretty astounding when you look at how much he
Yeah, but he was
spent making that
established
movie.
by then.
Kind of.
But the first American movie that he made with Ewan McGregor, not that great. That was the one after Trainspotting.
What is that one?
Forgettable.
Okay. Slumdog's really good.
Obviously, Slumdog won Best Picture,
That
right?
doesn't mean it's good though.
Yeah,
Crash also won Best
It was
Picture.
good.
Yeah.
It was good though. Millionaire, excellent.
Yeah.
Did you ever see
Sunshine?
Yeah,
Sunshine's
Sunshine.
pretty- Sunshine's like
Millions.
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 It wasn't Millionaire. It was
Yeah,
Millions.
Millions.
Yeah, yeah.
That's adorable.
Did you see that though?
I
It's
loved
like
it.
rated G or something.
it's
It was
great.
Great.
surprisingly good.
Yeah, even Sunshine, which has problems, is a unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
the thing I like about Danny Boyle is he's not afraid to jump around. He's a genre director who jumps from genre to genre kind of seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
He's made musicals, he's made science fiction movies, he's made zombie movies, he's made all sorts.
He's a
of different
regular
stuff.
Kubrick.
Yeah, except for he's making. Yeah, it seems a little more productive. Good eyebrows too.
Hey, you guys have been playing Apex Legends. Tell me
Yeah,
about that.
it's the latest hit game from the fine folks at Respawn Entertainment, makers of Titanfall and Titanfall 2.
A Life Less Ordinary.
Ah.
Not my favorite.
Um,
Yes. What did you think?
I think it's as somebody who's put more than 2,000 hours into PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
Made a whole side career on it, I would
Not
say.
really. I wouldn't call it a career.
No.
25 million people have played Apex Legends
Yeah.
since it was dropped last week.
Well, it's free. That helps.
And they have 2 million concurrent players, which is insane.
That's where they spiked on the weekend. So it's back down to like 1 million on the reg
That's
now, which is still pretty good.
Wow.
Is this the future? Are we going to stop paying for games?
I think for certain kinds of games, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so one of the things that's happened, you guys I'm sure have talked about the Epic Game Store and how that's kind of challenging Steam in a way that Origin and Uplay, and the other folks have never had any real major impact.
The power of Fortnite.
But the challenge of that Fortnite audience is that those kids are used to playing nothing for a game and maybe spending a little bit of money on hats or clothes or whatever. You know, the joke that I think the Giant Bomb guys came up with from a mail is that kids on the playground call each other default as an insult because it means that they never upgraded their dude in Fortnite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear try hard a lot.
Try hard thanks Shroud. But yeah, I think Apex. So there's two things that happen with Apex. One is that it's a military style free to play shooter that's available on PC, Xbox, and PS4, which immediately makes it really interesting to people who are maybe into battle royale games but don't want to pay for PUBG or don't want to play the bad console ports of PUBG and are turned off by Fortnite's kind of combo of building and shooting.
Is it cross-platform? Apex?
The play is not cross-platform. There's no reason it couldn't be. Although the word that I've heard is that they are thinking like they launched with the size game, like it's a 60-player game instead of a 100-player game, and presumably it seems like 60 is kind of a magic number for server performance, even with PUBG and Fortnite, where in the early parts of the game when there's more people in, if the fighting gets too concentrated, then the server starts getting hinky and you see weird lag and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So presumably by doing 60 players, they avoid that.
But unlike PUBG and Fortnite, it is a forced squad game.
Yeah, so there's no duo, no solo modes.
You have to play in threes.
Yeah, and unlike PUBG and Fortnite, there's character classes. So it's more akin to like an Overwatch or something like that, or a Battlefield, frankly, where you have a player class that has some specific abilities that are tied to the class. I would say that the abilities are a little bit more subdued and less impactful alone than they are in Overwatch or Battlefield. Like it's much less of a paper rock scissors situation.
So
where,
even if you're a medic, you can still survive solo for a period of time.
Well, even if you're unlike Battlefield where you spawn with a kit, or Overwatch where you spawn with the same weapons every time for your kit, you still have to go out and scrounge for guns. So if you get a sniper rifle and you're a medic, you're going to be a sniper, right? If you get a shotgun and you're a medic, you're going to be an up close fighter. Most of the skills are very situational. So for example, one character can drop a bubble shield that'll protect you for like 10 seconds, which is long enough to maybe pick up somebody who's been knocked down, or you can use it as cover to get away. Yeah, some of the characters drop smoke clouds, so you have a way to escape or use cover to again escape. So there's like movement, there's specialty support, and then there's things like the medic class can pick people up faster, or it can drop a bot that heals you or stuff like that.
And it has the whole revive mechanic, which I haven't seen in either Fortnite or PUBG, right?
Yeah, so it's I would say the overarching theme is that they looked at the kind of pain points in traditional battle royale games, where if you're in a squad in PUBG and you get knocked in the initial encounter, which happens often, then you have 20 minutes. If your team goes on to reach the end of the game, you have 20 or 30 minutes where you're just sitting there watching them play.
Yeah,
which sucks. So one of the things you mentioned is the revive. So if somebody goes and loots your crate within like 90 seconds after you bleed out, they can take you to a special terminal and bring you back to life.
But that might take 10 minutes to find the terminal.
It doesn't take that long.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the whole game,
if you know what you're doing.
An Apex Legend game takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes all told.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
not that bad.
Well, it's 60 players. The map is smaller. It's a little more condensed.
The map is smaller.
It's a faster pace than your PUBG, especially on the bigger maps in PUBG. It seems like it is really interesting to see what a second generation battle royale game made by a studio with real AAA chops looks like.
Respawn.
And it's good. I'm really excited because Respawn is a studio that deserves hits. I don't know if you guys played Titanfall 2.
No.
But I think it was the best single player campaign of the year that it came out. That story goes places like 4 or 5 hours long. You can usually get it for $5 or $10 on Origin. Highly recommend playing it if you haven't. And the multiplayer was amazing. And it came out between Call of Duty and Battlefield that year, and like 8 people bought it.
So is this your new game?
I'm going back and forth right now. It's only 3-player squads, and I have a regular 4-man crew, so it's a little bit awkward in that regard.
Is it difficult to get your friends to convert and...
No, not really. There's right now you load up Origin. There's 15 or 20 people on my relatively small Origin list playing every night.
The short list.
Yeah, so you can find games.
My whole problem with this game is that it does force you into squads, and I don't have 20 people on my friends list in Origin, so I have to go in and play with strangers, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm letting people down.
Would you like to play some Apex Legends?
I
with
think
me?
I probably represent more than just me.
Yeah.
And that there's people out there who are turned off by that, and they wish that there was a solo mode at least just to learn the ropes.
So, what I would say, having taught a lot of people how to play PUBG, is that the worst way to learn those games is by yourself. You really want to have a friend who knows how to play them to kind of walk you through it.
And that's absolutely,
I know.
absolutely. But I don't even know how to use the character. I don't know the keys yet.
So the thing that they've done with this that really helps people, especially people who don't want to use a voice to communicate, which I think is like, I don't ever want to talk to random people on the internet because I've been called enough epithets in my life at this point. I don't need any more. They built this ping system.
That's brilliant.
That's context aware
really
and
smart.
super smart and works really well, where you can press and hold the ping button. So the ping button puts a marker on the world and on the mini map, I think. Might just be on the world that says, hey, something's happening over here. And in PUBG, you put a ping and it's just general purpose. The pings are all the same, and all you get is a heading on your compass to look at.
Mm-hmm.
With this, you can put a ping that says, hey, there's a gun here you might want.
Or is it a radio dial, radio menu?
No,
Well, so-
it depends on what you ping.
Oh, so it's just
It's both.
It's an intelligently
Yes.
context sensitive, based
So-
on what they think you're alerting people about.
So by default, it's the context sensitive. If you press and hold, the radio menu pops up and you can put a specific thing.
Got it.
And unlike, say, Battlefield's tagging system where you have to actually put your cursor on a bad guy to tag it, this you can just say, hey, there's bad guys generally over in this area. And it gives you both the distance to that person and the heading, no matter where you're standing on the map. It's really, really smart. And it means that for basic level strategy, when you're learning how to play, you don't have to actually talk to anybody. Now, if you pair that with voice comms and you say, hey, there's somebody coming out of the back of the house I just pinged, it's much more usable and much more valuable.
Right.
But even without communicating verbally, it's pretty good.
Okay, and because you asked, I do want to play with you.
Yes. I'll give you we can be friends on Origin and I will play with you. I'm on pretty much every night.
I mean, Battlefield has had something similar in a first-person ping where like you aim at something, you press, and there is a radio menu, and you know your 4 directional arrows for attack here, move here. Why do you think developers were resistant to giving so much, letting the AI give so much contextual information, making it easier to streamline that kind of the user experience of communicating?
My guess is it's one of those things that's near the end of the list, and it's like it would be good to have, not a must-have.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, look, it's hard. Like building these games is difficult. If you look at I spent a lot of time playing PUBG, so I know more about that. But they are balancing a desire at the corporate level to have an esports title that can generate a lot of interest in the game and get people hyped up about it, and balancing the needs of those both the people who run the tournaments and those players versus the needs of a populace that is enormous because they have millions of people playing that game in China all the time. And like the Chinese market and the Korean market, like third person, right, where the company is from, the U.S. market likes first person because that's what we've played, and like they're trying to build the same game for all of these different places, and they've dropped the ball in a lot of them as a result. The thing that I mean, in a lot of ways, starting from scratch with a game targeted primarily for the Western audience at first, it gives Respawn a little bit of an easier target, and I think they're probably looking at more at like Call of Duty and Fortnite as their competition than probably PUBG.
Can I ask what should have been the first question?
Yeah.
Does it do free play correctly?
The monetization is not gross so far.
No, more importantly, are the things that I'm buying only aesthetic
Yes.
in nature?
Yes.
They don't affect
There's
any gameplay
It's all
whatsoever.
cosmetic.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and there's no play
Cosmetics.
along to unlock something.
But that's not true. There are 2 characters that are locked behind either earning currency by playing the game or by putting, I think the characters end up costing like $8 each when you do the...
And if you have them, do you have an advantage?
you have more options available to you as a playable character. So you have, one of them is a skill. They're both high skill characters, which is I think why they put them behind down the progression.
I don't like that. Fortnite does not do that, and I give them credit for that.
That's true. It's closer to the League of Legends model where you have 6 characters that are free, and
Cycling.
I don't know if they're going to cycle them. I don't know how many characters they're going to roll out. Like if it ends up being an Overwatch situation where 2 years from now there's 35 characters and I've had to put $300 in to unlock them all, that's going to be a bummer. You can earn the currency in game to unlock them though. So, and it doesn't like I've unlocked one of them after playing for a week. So it's not
Okay.
It's not an onerous climb. It's not an impossible climb. you don't have to put money in.
Yeah.
I happily put in $10 the other day because I was like, I've played this enough. I want to get some cool skins.
I confess, I don't know much about Fortnite. Is it one map or are there tons of maps?
Fortnite has one map, but it's constantly changing. So they changed the way they remove areas, they change them around. They'll like wreck the buildings in one area.
They have these world events like you hear about in World of Warcraft where things happen.
So if PUBG does not do that, that's more of patch release, update the game, big things may change in the map.
PUBG makes significant changes, but usually it's less experimental and more, hey, we feel like this area of the map's not getting used much, so we're going to put some good loot up here.
Right.
My son was showing me this neat spot in Fortnite. I forget what it's called, the cube, the square. It's an area where every week they import a user-created design that they made in a separate part of the executable. And they say that's the one for next week of all the millions of players.
Wow.
And he gets to have his little square of map incorporated into the game world.
It's like a showcase / art gallery kind of almost, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's playable.
And that stuff, to me, that stuff's really cool. Like the other thing that Apex does that's really neat is the world is more interactive. So they don't have vehicles in Apex Legends, but what they have done is they give you characters that both have movement skills, like you can drop a portal or that can make a zip line or whatever. There's a lot of zip lines in the world that help you get from place to place quickly. And then there's also these balloon things that you can kind of ride up. And when you get to the top, if you ride them all the way up to the top, it'll give you like the boost jets that you use when you first launch out of the plane to cover ground faster. So you're not always like if you're on the wrong end of the map and the circle's on the other end, you're not always just running through the same map. You can kind of fly around and almost fly from balloon to balloon.
But it is one map.
It is one map for now. They gave the map a name.
Oh.
Which I don't think the Fortnite map has a name. This one's called Kings Canyon, which implies to me that there is room for potential new maps in the future.
Will you be streaming on Twitch?
I have streamed it on Twitch already.
All right. People can watch you there.
Twitch.tv/notthatwillsmith.
There you go. That does it for the pop culture segment of this week's show. Before we move on to tech news, I want to thank the other sponsor that made this episode possible, made this podcast episode. And it's another podcast. It's called Voyage to the Stars, and it's from the fine folks at Earwolf. We're going all in on podcasts. They got a new comedy podcast. You should check it out. Voyage to the Stars is like a sci-fi sitcom for your ears. They started with a great script and handed it to a bunch of funny people from TV shows that you may have seen, like The Good Place or You're the Worst, and let them improvise. It stars Felicia Day, Colton Dunn, Janet Varney, who's a friend of the site, and also Steve Berg. And the gist is a crew of misfits boards an alien spaceship, and they wind up on the wrong side of the universe. Each episode, they try to get back home. Kind of like Star Trek Voyager, except more comedy. It's funny stuff. Check it out. Look up Voyage to the Stars in your podcast app and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And thank them for making our episode possible. All right, we'll go more video game stuff. The big video game news this week is the business news. It's not good news either. Activision Blizzard had their earnings report, annual earnings report for this past year, and
Way up.
They made a lot of money, but apparently not enough money for what the investors were expecting, and a bunch of people got laid off. 800 people.
This is the thing that it's incredibly frustrating. I mean, we used to have this with Apple all the time, where some analyst who is essentially looking at numbers and guessing at what should be happening, then adding 10% so the number looks really good on their report, says, "Hey, Activision should be making this much money this year." And then when they make more money than they made last year, but not as much as the analyst says, then the executives and the board decide to lay off 800 people. It's absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
700,
very unfortunate.
775 people, most of them non-developers.
Which doesn't mean a lot. A lot of people we know have worked with on the community management side, on the PR side, worked there for over 10 years, lost their jobs this week.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not like Blizzard had a bad year. It's not like Activision had a bad year. It's they didn't have as good a year as the financial analyst said that they should have,
Yes.
which is I mean, it's awful.
So there are talks about, what can developers do, and is it about unionizing? Is it like what is the solution to this type of corporate problems.
I mean, unionizing gives them a collective interface to negotiate with the company. And I mean, I think we've seen a lot of press, a lot of media outlets unionize in the last year and a half, 2 years, which at least gives the employees a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And seems like a good first step, if nothing else.
Related, Blizzard also announced they would not have any new major titles released in this calendar year.
They called this this is a transition year where no big titles from either parts of Blizzard, Blizzard or Activision, no big releases.
They are still planning to release World of Warcraft Vanilla, the original, the original world of World of
go
Warcraft.
back to the Undercity?
Yes, exactly.
Ooh.
And it's a completely different servers, and it will be a different, I think, SKU entirely. Maybe, maybe not. But in any case, that's a major thing they've been working on for a couple of years now, and they are planning to still do that.
So I mean, Activision has a franchise problem, right? They have Call of Duty. They used to have Tony Hawk. They used to have Guitar Hero. They used to have Skylanders.
Skylanders. Yeah.
They used to have a bunch of titles, and then the Destiny. They used to have Destiny. Bungie split off a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Blackout seems like it sold reasonably well last year.
What does that mean? Reasonably well, right? When the bigger the stakes,
well, it used to be the biggest selling game in the world.
Yeah.
And we have EA still sells a lot of copies of Madden, but it's not like it used to be.
It's hard to compete with free.
Yeah. So the question is, what presumably there's going to be a new Call of Duty this year. But I mean, I don't know what else Activision releases in 2019 if they're not doing any new IPs. And if they don't do any new, they haven't done new IP since Skylanders, I don't think, have they?
What?
When was the last? What was the last? I mean, they bought Bungie. I mean, they bought Bungie, had a publishing agreement with Bungie to do Destiny, which was a new IP, but that was kind of half them, half Bungie. So what was their last new?
I don't know.
Yeah, UB at least is trying a bunch of new stuff. They have Watch Dogs. They have those crew games. They made the Grow Homes, and they do a bunch of small kind of micro scale games for a huge studio like that. EA is holy hell. They did a free to play game that has 25 million people playing it in the first week. That seems okay for them. I don't know what Activision's doing except for hoping Call of Duty hits every year, and if it doesn't, then they have to sack a bunch of people. And also, I mean, people still play Overwatch, and presumably new people are coming to Overwatch all the time in Hearthstone and those games.
Who's doing Anthem? Is that EA?
That's EA.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's later this month.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's completely different from the Rockstar business model. One game every over 5 years, and hope
that makes a couple of $1 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which they're the multiplayer, the hats have not been selling so well.
It seems like Red Dead sold initial copies, but maybe isn't going to have the same kind of legs that
GTA.
I mean, I think Red Dead is a less fun game than GTA is.
As it should be. It's a different type of. I mean,
it's a slower game.
It's a slower game.
Yeah.
The Old West was not fun.
No, it wasn't.
There's a lot of pooping.
There's a lot of horse pooping. A lot of consumption.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel, anytime there's a major layoff in the games industry, one of the things that is kind of heartwarming about it is seeing all the other studios saying, "Hey guys, we have jobs open here. If you just got laid off, please be sure to send in a resume and we'll help you find something."
More often than not, this stuff is cyclical. When developers lay people off, it's that phase in game design. They just don't have enough games in development to overlap.
Well, I mean, but it's unfortunate.
It is.
It's one of the things that when I first started working at Maximum PC, John Phillips told me the day that I started, "Oh, by the way," and this was information I would have liked to have had before I said yes and moved to California. But he was like, "When you work in this industry, you can be sacked at any moment despite the fact that you've done the best work of your life, of your career. So, business. Unfortunately, when you work in this kind of creative work, the business exigencies are outside of your control often, and you'll suffer the consequences." Sound's going.
Is that all of us?
Yeah, it was me too. So be prepared.
In the same call, I'm reading this article from Ars Technica. Activision says that it's planning to increase the number of developers working on its major franchises by 20% in the coming year.
So probably they laid off a bunch of QA people and places where there's a lot of people that they can then outsource someplace else. I haven't looked and I haven't seen any actual reporting on who got laid off, but presumably it's something HR and
PR, marketing, community management.
places where if they don't have titles coming this year, they don't need a PR person. They need one PR person instead of 20. It's a huge bummer.
Yeah. All right, on to other kind of business news. Eero. You guys, I use an Eero. You guys use Eero?
I didn't know you used that.
I'm
Yeah.
not an Eero guy. I'm a Google Home guy.
I have a set at home.
Google Home does mesh networking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Norm?
Yeah, they had their whole Google thing. Remember, Kishore tried it?
They did on Hub, and then they
that's
released
right.
the little
Yes,
puck
yes.
ones.
I'm thinking just of the Home Puck.
There was this whole
The
space.
Home Puck is the thing that does mesh networking.
There was this whole thing where three different.
It works as your router?
Mm-hmm.
That's the 10% of my brain that has gone away.
Yeah, 15 is what you lose with the
I'm
baby.
working on that last 5%. So Eero, there are a bunch of different companies that do mesh networking. They help extend your Wi-Fi throughout your house while being your router and being a single network. Eero, I think, has been the most successful in terms of the design of the device and also just I think their ease of use has been great. They just were bought by Amazon.
It was really nice to have an independent. So, like, a router is a really important part of your home network. Everything goes in and out. So even if you're not, even if everything's encrypted, the person who owns the router can see where the traffic is going and make some assumptions from that.
I don't want to use an Eero now as my router.
No, I as soon as I'm figure out what doorbell I want, I'm taking the Ring off for the same reason. Like, I don't want Amazon facial recognizing everybody that hits my front door.
I don't use the Eero as a router. I use them in bridge mode, so I don't have enough jacks on the Eero to use it as a router. I don't know who could
You
do
can
that
plug a switch into it.
unless they're existing purely on Wi-Fi.
But you plug a switch into the Ethernet out. And then,
So what I do, and there's just not enough settings either. Have you looked at can you
No, I didn't
even
use it.
port forward on the Eero? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I'm sure you
in,
can.
in the app. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's definitely supposed to be a little
Dude,
more user friendly.
It is not.
It's app based.
It is not as powerful as any
No,
other.
you're not going to be able
router.
to go open a web browser and get go through all those inscrutable different settings
And
as you would on a D-Link.
For the longest time, you couldn't even access your LAN when the internet went down.
Yeah.
what?
Using the Eero. So they solved that actually within the past 6 months or so.
Oh, that's bad.
You can do this where if you don't want Jeff Bezos to know all of your
But you
internet
want
traffic.
the mesh networking functionality.
Yeah, exactly.
As you just attach the Eero as a bridge on your existing router network, which
And
may
it
be the
doesn't
way to
double NAT
go.
or anything? It doesn't double NAT?
I think it does. I think you get two.
Do you have a different IP address range inside the Eero Wi-Fi than outside the Eero Wi-Fi?
I think you do.
Yeah, see, that stinks.
What are you guys
'cause that's
talking
gonna
about?
hurt. So double NAT is when you have two network address translation layers. So like you have two private IP address ranges. One is between your router and the Eero, and the other one would be between the Eero and the rest and the wireless.
So it won't be as
Devices.
seamless
So it adds latency.
No. I inherit my
You
IP
inherit your
addresses from my router.
Okay, yeah. So then you have it set up
You have to
right.
put it in bridge mode.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what does this mean? What does this portend for Amazon devices? Does it mean those Alexa devices will have mesh networking?
It means they need a thermostat, and they have the whole set because they have cameras, they have doorbells, they have
Security systems.
Echo with the
They have clocks, microwaves, and
Well, then the Echo has the Zigbee Z-Wave bridge now. Like, they have everything they need except for thermostats and smoke detectors and stuff like that for smart home dominance.
these things end up taking way too many ports in my outlet.
What do you mean? Like ports?
Power plugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we bought our house, I had the electrician come and put in what I thought was at the time in 2007 a ludicrous number of outlets, and it was I was out by like 2010.
Insufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the one benefit I could see from this is, as opposed to having to plug in the mesh network hub, the Alexa device, and all the other stuff, just put in one. I could see that being beneficial. I like the user design though. I like how clear it is where it is, because I do plug mine in weird places to get the network to expand.
I mean, honestly, somebody tweeted. There's two thoughts I had about this. One was that when a small startup got bought by Facebook or Google or Amazon or Microsoft or Apple, you used to think, "Oh man, good for them. This is a good choice." And now it's kind of a sense of dread about what horrible nightmare we're going to find out and how these things that were once good are getting ruined.
Well, for a lot of companies, that is the goal. Like, acquisition is the end.
I mean, and to be honest, I met the folks who made Eero at a conference the year before they launched their pre-order campaign, and talked to them about it. I was like, this sounds really cool. I can't believe that nobody else has done this yet. And they're like, well, we're worried that somebody else will. And then they launched their pre-order, and Google Home launched on Hub followed by the home with mesh networking, and Netgear launched their mesh networking thing. And I'm surprised that they made it this long, because it's hard to compete as a small company against Netgear, who's going to spend millions of dollars marketing, and Google, who's going to spend the equivalent of billions of dollars marketing their stuff.
And the question is, what does Amazon want? Do they want a mesh network in every home that can maybe all tie together and have seamless Wi-Fi everywhere?
I think so, yeah.
I mean,
And Amazon also wants to know where you spend your time on the internet.
And that allows for so much tracking. That's like location tracking too.
Well, especially when you think that Amazon also knows a lot about the other side, because they own the routers now on both sides. With that, they'll own the routers on both sides, on the server side for AWS and on the consumer side for this.
It's like owning the cell towers,
Yeah, pretty much.
right?
Kind of, yeah. Like they own, they get a lot of information from owning both sides of the data stream, both about how they should be evolving their server business, which is a huge part of their business, and also about what people spend their time doing, what apps they're using, places that they can't put a tracking cookie on an ad in your music app. But if they have in the router, then they can see that, oh, you're spending time with Spotify and Google Music and not Amazon Music and not whatever else they're associated
You
with.
would think that owning a network like that, you allow Jeff Bezos to have more encrypted text messaging.
Well, look, Jeff Bezos doesn't care if you read his text messages.
That's right. That's
what
right.
we've
And
learned.
top men are on it,
Yeah.
investigating. Yes.
is that all we're saying about that?
Look, if I like it,
The best thing, I think Warren Ellis tweeted this, the writer. He said he posted a picture from The Dark Knight. Remember the movie Dark Knight, where the financial guys wanted to blackmail
yeah,
Morgan Freeman and Bruce Wayne. He goes, I want $1 million a year for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
and your secret will be safe. And Morgan Freeman goes, so let me get this straight. You think your employer, one of the richest men in the world, dresses up like a bat and beats criminals up to a bloody pulp with his hands on his free time, and your plan is to blackmail him?
yeah,
It's essentially that,
Yeah.
right? You think the richest man in the world, who spends his pocket change building rocket ships
yeah.
and owns the Washington Post, you think he's going to give in to your demands?
You like what's going to happen if pictures of his penis get released? Do you think that he's going to get sacked by the board of Amazon, who he's made millions and billions of dollars for? No, he's fine. He doesn't have a prenup, presumably, with his wife, which is the other reason people might not want that information getting out.
I mean, they already announced. I mean, his personal stuff was already been
It's
out
solved.
there.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point. Is it's not like it's going to impact his divorce settlement.
Right.
So the downside for him is it's a little bit embarrassing versus being able to. Yeah, it's bad. And so the downside of this story is it looks like he's gearing up to do the Peter Thiel thing that Peter Thiel did to Gawker, where he basically death by 1,000 cuts this publication. Which, look, generally speaking, I'm pro getting rid of the National Enquirer. I think that would be good for all humanity. But at the same time, I'm pretty anti suing publication. Like the chilling effect that the Gawker Peter Thiel stuff had on journalism is real, right? You have a situation where anytime somebody is in a newsroom is writing a story about a billionaire, then they have to think, oh, is this worth? It's potentially risking the entire publication, because anybody with that kind of assets can fund enough lawsuits that the publication, no matter the scale, won't be able to defend themselves indefinitely. If you're suing the New York Times in 35 different jurisdictions, eventually they're going to not be able to report on that person anymore, because they won't be able to afford to hold up to the lawsuits.
Right.
Yeah, and that is unequivocally a bad thing.
Yeah. Free speech is
We
important.
need more slap laws in all the jurisdictions in the United States.
Yep. And that is all we'll say about that. Hey, for both of you guys, when you look at your phones, what kind of network are you on? Are you on
Wi-Fi.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
I too am on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to
It's
tell.
not a great
Yeah.
Wi-Fi here, Norm. I gotta tell you,
turn off
it's
Wi-Fi.
kind of unfortunate.
And I can
these
tell you,
days.
I'm on AT&T, and then that's all it says. What if I pull down a little bit? Yeah, AT&T LTE.
LTE. All right, long-term evolution.
4G.
4G.
I'm
Do you-
on just LTE. Mine says Verizon.
Yes. Well, we're all hoping for 5G to come in
Next
the
year.
Next year.
Yeah, yeah,
May
yeah.
not be for Apple devices, but definitely for it's. I mean, it's already out on some.
In 2020, I expect it to be 2020.
Oh, I guess you're right. We're
Yeah.
in 2019 right now.
It's the future.
But 5G is coming. The radios are getting built into the modems
I told you about that car I saw the other day, right?
that had.
It's a 5G car.
It was like a hacker car out of some sci-fi, indie movie. It was covered in antennas and had all these electronics with wires strewn everywhere inside.
Huh.
And he was an official 5G tester working for the networks, driving
Wow.
around San Francisco testing the signals.
That's great.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it's definitely not widespread yet. Sprint was one of the first networks that's going to have real 5G, and they are suing AT&T because AT&T is doing what they did exactly when LTE was happening, when 4G was happening. They are rebranding their 4G as 5G E.
A little bit of make-believe.
5G evolution. The same network, same modems, some select phones, even iPhones with a certain patch.
Yep.
It will be labeled 5GE, and Sprint says, no. This is misleading.
What does the E stand for? Egregious?
Evolution.
Evolution.
It's the 5G evolution network.
So what will regular 5G be? Like non-E?
Yeah, 5G will be real 5G. Well, let's remember when HSBA Plus was marketed as LTE when it was not 4G
This is
and it was just 3G. This is bad.
Here's the thing.
Oh boy. What's the thing?
Do we need 5G speeds
Yes.
for our
Yes.
phones?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you notice the internet being slow on your
It's
phone?
not. It's both. It's just
Dude.
it's both bandwidth and latency.
If 5G makes good on its promises, you will notice a tremendous difference. I mean, we're having trouble getting enough bandwidth in an office to do our little experiments with tanks over the other ocean right now. If we had 5G on our phones, it would open up so many possibilities for high bandwidth tasks on the mobile.
But my understanding was that the 5G for home use is going to have a bigger antenna and more power consumption and all that than you're probably going to have on your phone. So
Definitely
presumably,
power consumption is a
yeah,
problem.
your phone version is going to be the step down, kid shoes version of that.
But it'll all be on the same network, and if it can seamlessly. I mean, that will help as well.
Yeah, but like for my phone, I care much less than I do for my house. I guess I'm used to the internet being kind of janky on my phone.
Why accept that? Why accept the internet kind of
Because
being
radio
janky?
is always jankier than wires.
You're saying the physics.
Wires are good
The physics will always limit. I mean, we're hoping that
in theory.
a new standard can be established. Like, I thought 4G. I thought HSPA plus 3G was fine until I was on LTE.
Yeah. Okay. So my thing is I don't play games that require latency on my phone. So like I'm not playing Fortnite on the bus, which is a place where latency would matter. I watch video sometimes.
This is like Silicon Valley. This is the idea of like it can be
Tip to
a
tip, not end to
transforming exactly a transformative technology. It changes the way the infrastructure works. So you're maybe not downloading and installing apps. Maybe you are running more things remotely with zero latency.
You understand? We haven't even established what the specs are.
Yeah.
But the
it's
spec,
basically gigabit with 10% latency of what current.
but gigabit
4G.
is the real world expectation. Like
Yeah.
the actual spec is 20 gigabit. So yeah,
for a node.
I don't want people to expect 20 gigabit, but single gigabit is quite feasible.
So, but I don't think my phone can manage gigabit speeds, and I know that my data plan can't manage gigabit speeds because if I use gigabit, if I actually get cut loose on a gigabit connection on my phone, I'll burn through my data allowance in like 20 minutes.
So you're talking about different things. You're talking about the plan problem, right? The
Yeah.
business, the
the
service
business
problem,
constraints of the service are incompatible with my using gigabit on my
which
phone.
that will have to change,
You think that?
right? Just like 3G, our bandwidth caps were not incompatible with LTE, and now we are in we're still resolving that with bandwidth caps on LTE.
Well, but when I had 3G, I had an unlimited plan, and I used an unlimited plan. I mean, with some bullshit caps that they put on after the fact. But when I moved to 4G, they added data caps for all of us.
Wait and see what happens, because the
Yeah.
5G protocols are supposed to be much more efficient, and so they should be able to take some of that off.
Well, we
take
can
some of
trust
that weight.
the telcos to treat consumers in a
I'm just
fair
saying,
and
let-
honest manner.
Well, yeah, especially given that they're calling 4G 5G.
Yeah, since they're already lying about their service. Yeah, we're starting off on the right foot.
But you would hope that the phones, I mean, this would be something that gets developers and gets phone manufacturers to think about how they design phones and design the hardware inside phones differently to take advantage of this kind of almost unlimited bandwidth. Storage storage is the easiest thing that doesn't become a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Local storage, having a 512 gigabyte phone is unnecessary.
Except unless you want to watch a movie on the plane.
Right. So a
Right.
128. I mean, it can change how we think about phones.
That's true. There's like I bought a 256 gig phone when I bought my iPhone 10, and it's been really nice because I haven't ever had a problem with storage, and I don't have to worry about deleting photos or home movies or whatever. I can put as many movies on the phone as I want when I go on a plane trip. I feel like until I know what the business model is for these new 5G connections, I kind of am ambivalent about it as a consumer.
I mean, I can imagine a world where the apps,
Imagine a world.
media apps, right? Media is the most logical thing. Why you would need bandwidth would, as long as your phone's plugged in, your Netflix app or your Disney Plus app will start downloading 4K HDR copies locally based on what it thinks your phone, what you will watch, so that the idea of buffering will be gone forever.
Well, I mean, if you have a real gigabit connection on your phone, you don't need to buffer in the first place. But Netflix at home is really fast.
But for travel, right?
Yeah.
Like, it knows, sees in your calendar, you're going on a trip. Anything you click plus on Netflix, automatically downloaded.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it. Like,
It's fair.
That's a world I want to live in.
You're never going to get me to say that more bandwidth is bad. I'm just saying that telcos are bad, and they're not going to let
Yes.
us use the more bandwidth.
And based on past history,
Yeah.
they
It's
see this
not
as
been
money-making
great.
opportunities.
Yes.
I want to live in a world where we cover the rest of these stories before the podcast ends.
Okay, all right. Let's quickly go through Adobe working on some interesting AI for photo editing. Lightroom Classic, which is their non-cloud-based Lightroom, has now a new feature that uses some AI to help fill in some pixels for raw pictures. They call it demosaicing as a technology. It works on raw pictures. It's a neural network that applies on pictures from Canon, Nikon, Sony, Olympus, and Fujifilm,
What is this enhance?
and it is enhanced.
You
There
just
are
say
side-by-side
enhance?
images, and you have in high megapixel images, they use neural networks to add details on things in the background like landscapes and buildings.
Oh my gosh.
They say the result could be a 30% increase of resolution generated artificially. Now, it is controversial. It's a version of sharpening.
Are the newspapers going to have to put this photograph was digitally enhanced thing underneath the photos that they do this to?
I want to see a face.
That's the thing. I do want to see a face. A lot of point and shoots actually have done this for a long time. Not real-time neural, but they do tap into a database to recognize that, the object you're taking a photo of is a flower.
Golden
And
Gate
so
Bridge.
based on or a landmark or a building, and based on what contextually they think you took a picture of, it will apply settings and pull from a database of thousands or millions of photos to quote unquote enhance your picture.
This just looks like edge detection. Like it looks like they're looking for squares and straight lines. And
I know what you
and
mean.
Straightening the.
It's not as
straight
bad
lines.
as sharpening, traditional sharpening using the edge detection.
It's
though.
smart
It
sharpening.
doesn't have all those weird
All
artifacts.
right, it'll sharpen the things that, based on its neural networks, it thinks is the object that needs sharpening.
This also feels like something that the moment you convert it into a JPEG doesn't matter anymore.
That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
So for printing photos, which is largely why you would be using a service like a program like Lightroom anyway. For owners of the Prusa i3, their updates.
Is it Prusa or is it Prusa? Or is it-
I've said
or is it
Prusa.
Is it Prusa?
If only there was someone here. It's an expert at pronunciation.
Yesterday. What? Because what are you talking about?
All my troubles were. No, I'm bad at pronunciation.
I thought you were digging at
No,
me
no,
because
no,
the
you're
internet
good.
attacked me yesterday for not knowing how to pronounce soldering.
Soldering?
See, that's what I said.
It's soldering.
That's what I said.
Who says soldering?
Apparently, most of YouTube.
No,
Well,
it's,
look,
it's soldering.
beside the point.
Your first mistake is reading YouTube comments.
Oh my God, I went deep yesterday.
Don't do that.
I was in a lot of trouble.
No.
And then I saw you.
Yeah, no, they hate me way more than they hate you. You're fine
No,
here.
I mean the Will Smith stuff. I mean the movie. All right.
Oh.
So yesterday, Prusa, if you have an i3 MK3, they've released an update for you. And if you have, more importantly for me, an MMU2, they have an update for us too.
Oh, finally.
And those of us with an MMU2, we've been struggling for months trying to get these things to work consistently. They are giving us the update to the MMU2 plus the MK3 update for free. And they're going to give us a voucher later this week. We'll get those things shipped out and hopefully have
This is hardware
working
upgrades, a
MMU2s.
hardware patch.
They are. Now,
Oh,
obviously,
that's nice.
there's software updates that were released today, but there is a hardware update for the MMU, which is going to kind of buffer the spool in a way that solves the retraction problem. And there's a new filament, what do you call it, detector switch on the extruder side that is filament agnostic. So previously, if you tried to use translucent filament or certain kinds of filament on your MK3, the printer would not see it, and so that caused problems with the filament sensor. So they've improved that. They've made one that's works physically on the filament that appears rather than optically, and although it's a combination physical-optical switch. In any case, it's all good stuff. We have an update that we've been waiting along for. If you have those printers, check it out. There's a discussion on Reddit. There's a discussion on Prusa's forums. I'm happy about it.
A couple bit of Apple news. Apple has announced an event for March 25th centered around a news subscription product. This is Apple diving deeper into services as revenue generating part of their arm of their business. And March 25th is when at the Steve Jobs Theater on their New Park campus. This is we won't expect to see new hardware, even though there have been rumors of a spring release for the AirPods 2 and even an iPad mini. But their news partners have also been not shy about talking about what the revenue split between them and Apple would be on a new subscription service, and it might be somewhere in line of 50-50, which
that seems bonkers.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, struggling news outlets just to get their eyeballs. I mean, Apple must have a ton of data about people's willingness to spend money on subscriptions for news or people's use of the Apple News app.
Isn't the App Store 70-30 where Apple only gets 30?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
Well, and in the game space, it's shifting even further in favor of the actual creators.
For the Epic,
Yeah, away from.
Yeah.
So, like, if I'm a news publisher and I'm looking at Apple saying, hey, we have a lot of eyeballs on news, at the same time, Facebook is backing away from news. Like, and like their solution to their fake news problem is just to stop putting news in people's feeds. Like Apple, I mean, the news publishers have to be concerned about getting eyeballs on their stories as the web continues its slow decline. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do in this situation. This seems fraught. Like, I assume that they're offering like New York Times digital subscriptions through the news app, and then they take 50% of anything they source, which seems really, really aggressive to me.
Yeah.
Unless they just have an enormous number of captive eyeballs.
I just don't know if people want to subscribe. I mean, unless the user experience, the formatting, or some other part of this is compelling, I'd rather go directly to the publisher.
But also you understand how that works, and whereas my father hits the news button and then just blasts me whatever Fox News posted that morning.
That's where Apple has the data of the use case, and this is the monopoly problem.
A lot of aging boomers who don't want to use the web and just hit the easy button on their phone.
Apple, they make the easy devices.
That will be us very soon, my friend.
I know.
You say that, but I don't think that's the case.
You aren't going to use the easy button?
You're dialed into the VRs. You know all the future platforms. You've leapt magically.
We have so much good VR news to talk about.
I know. Okay, let me do it quickly. The rumors, though, for Apple hardware is that AirPods 2, iPad Mini 5, which might be a low-cost iPad, same form factor as the past iPad Mini, except upgraded internal hardware. Definitely
that's
part
needed.
Of absolutely. There's a segment of the market that really wants that. And finally, AirPower may come this spring. I'm going to not hold my breath until that comes out.
I gave up. I bought a thing.
You bought a charger?
Yeah.
Look, a Qi charger?
You can buy an Anker Qi charger for $14 that works perfectly.
That's
Just
a case
buy that.
for your AirPods?
No, for your phone.
Oh,
for your
phone,
iPhone
of course,
10.
of course.
Well, I got one that does the watch and the phone, but yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
It's like, why not just buy the $14 thing and be done?
Yes. I don't need one single device solving the technical problem of charging multiple things at once. I don't need to wait for that. Although AirPods is now Apple's second most successful product they've launched recently. Search queries for AirPods were 500% year over year this past holiday from previous holiday. And it's not a new device. It's an old product.
It's 3 years old now, right? 2.5.
2 years old now.
Yeah.
And kids love it as a status symbol. It's expensive. Apparently, AirPod kids.
What do you mean by kids? Like teenagers?
My daughter doesn't want to.
High schoolers?
Yeah.
High schoolers want to own AirPods because it says they have money.
That's stupid.
So
Imagine if they put the Beats logo on it.
Do you remember when you first started walking around? You saw people wearing them in the beginning. You were like, oh, look at that asshole. The shift in that has happened faster than it did with the iPhone. Like, remember when the iPhone first came out, you'd see people standing on the subway station holding their iPhone. You're like, oh man, that guy's asking to
You're
get
not
robbed.
talking about people wearing them to make phone calls or listen to music. You're talking about people wearing them just casually in their ear.
I'm talking about people like walking down the street wearing a pair of AirPods, which are really, like, compared to a pair of black earbuds, are really, really obvious. Even compared to like traditional white Apple earbuds, they're really obvious.
I think they're really the audio quality is fine. I think they are convenient to pair and use. I use them one ear at a time because I only use them for phone calls, and because the battery life sucks on them.
So the problem I have is that they don't stay in my ears.
Oh, so you do have the ergonomics problem.
Yeah, my ear holes have never worked with Apple earbuds. So I'm excited about the rumor that they're going to have a tackier coating.
The newer one's supposed to come in black too, if you want that.
I don't care. That means that's what all
Product
the people who
red.
care what they look like.
I want to know how many of
buy.
these purchases. You say it's super popular. I want to know how many are repeat buyers because they've lost the first ones.
Or the battery has died year over year. You know,
You
these
think
are
it's that
small
bad?
batteries.
I haven't had battery life problems on mine.
I have
yet.
2 family members who have lost their AirPods, so
You have 2 kids too, though.
they haven't lost
have
them.
AirPods.
No,
So I almost
I'm
lost
talking about the
mine-
older generation.
I almost lost mine on mission when I was wearing a mask during this fires last year, and I took the mask off without taking the AirPods off, and they both flew up in the air.
I will say, from a
One
technology
made it all the way
standpoint,
outside.
what
It was amazing.
they got right was the pairing and the connectivity.
Yeah, it's super cool.
because you can wear an AirPod and not have the case on. You can accidentally leave your case in the car and still be on your phone call as long as your phone on you.
Yeah.
Well, the initial pairing's great too. You just
Yes.
walk close to a phone and it says, "Do you want to sync
Yes.
this up?" Nice graphic. It's great. Also, the new Alexa devices, they actually automatically get on Wi-Fi by talking to other Amazon devices.
With ultrasonic sound, right?
Is
or
that
Bluetooth.
it? No way.
I think it's ultrasonic.
that would be crazy.
I don't know. That's how the Google Home used to work.
I can
Wow.
hear the Wi-Fi password.
The thing that makes me crazy about the AirPods is just in general, like the obtuseness of the interface. Like if I have an important call coming, I almost always, just to make sure that it's 2 taps to pick up the phone and direct it to the AirPods, I almost always look up how to do it, which is dopey. But anyway.
Something Apple probably will not return to is the MagSafe. And so third-party manufacturers have taken on themselves to make MagSafe alternatives. We've seen the USB 2 to magnetic connection adapters. Now there is a ThunderMag has one that may work and give you enough power and data for a Thunderbolt port.
A USB-C?
A USB-C Thunderbolt port, enough voltage, and also enough throughput. So you can actually stream video, use it as an actual MagSafe or a USB-C alternative. It's kind of expensive though. $50 on their
What is
Kickstarter.
up with that?
Yeah, for an
That's
adapter.
too much.
Yeah, and it's also sticks out a little bit because it is an adapter. It's
I don't
not
need
flush.
I don't need more dongles in my life. I'm dongled up already.
I too am dongled up already. Last couple bits of news. Microsoft at Mobile World Congress is expected to announce the HoloLens 2, and they just teased it a little more with a promo image with a clip. February 24th is the date that's going to happen, so we are going to look forward to that. It's expected to use a Qualcomm processor, and I'm curious about the lensing and the ergonomics.
I'm curious about the price.
You think it's I guess the big question is whether this is consumer facing
Exactly.
or business facing.
It seems like these are. It seems like where AR is still business facing.
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
The only thing I would say is if they managed, like if they were announcing and there were rumors of hardware partners, like if they were getting Dell and HP and all the Windows MR headset manufacturers on board to make these, I would think we're looking at consumers. But as long as it's a Microsoft only product, I bet it's probably business. Business.
Google is rolling out for some of its Maps users AR functionality. This is kind of cool.
Is this the
I
pirate
guess.
mode? Arr!
No. This is holding your phone up and seeing an overlay with Google Maps on the bottom half of the screen
I
and
remember
some
Yelp did
arrows.
this with the iPhone 4.
Yeah, the monocle.
Yeah.
Except instead of gyro, it's gyro GPS and camera, computer vision. So way to suck your battery life even more when looking for directions to get to a place, presumably while traveling, and being cautious about your battery life.
So they demoed this a while ago, right?
did.
They had like a dog you could run after. It would like run ahead of you and turn the corner and it's like, come on, let's go this way. And you run after it and you're like,
Clippy.
Yeah, probably. But it also like does like a trail on the ground. And
Yes.
it's neat. I think this
The
is
Fable path?
This is definitely the future.
It's an
Do you think it is definitely the future?
No,
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
think
don't hate on the future.
I think it's a
Well, that made
dumbing
it
down.
worse.
Like I didn't get my Boy Scout orienteering merit badge to
Yeah.
not be able to look at a map, a topography
Oh
of a
my
map,
God.
and realize how to get from point A to point B.
Give in to the future, Norman. You're going to be wearing those are going to be electronic glasses in the future, and it's going to have all the information you need, and all your GPS
This
will be on it.
appeals to me only if there's more information on this than just the streets and the arrows.
Yeah, like if I get, oh, by the way, on the way to this, on your walking path, you're 3 steps away from the best burrito in San Francisco. That's useful information to me.
Yep.
That's adding to my life and making that sparks joy.
Yep.
Yes.
But if it's just, hey, walk down Valencia and then turn left at 15th, I don't need to wear goggles that are
I
going
don't
to
need
kill
to have my phone
battery.
up
Yeah.
there in front of me, held up as I'm lost, presumably looking for directions.
I already always feel like a tourist if I'm walking around a city I'm familiar with or unfamiliar with my phone out and a map up. I feel like it makes me a giant target.
The use case really is
So doesn't this solve that problem?
If I'm walking around with my phone up like this, no, that makes it much worse.
No, we're not doing that. We're putting it. Well, no, I'm talking about the future.
Oh,
When this is in your glasses.
I feel like if you're wearing the glasses, that's just going to,
I feel like the use case for this on your phone isn't that you're going to be able to hold your phone up and do the entire path. It's that when you reach an intersection and you want to make sure the street is the right street you're on, then you pull your phone up and it'll have an easy visual indicator to say, yeah, go up that street.
I mean, the machine vision part makes that interesting because right now, like Google Maps is a little sketchy in any big city because the compass doesn't work great because of all the metal in the buildings. So you're never sure if you're aimed the right direction.
Exactly, and that was how they demoed this. Like you pull out your map, you see your blinky dot on the map, and you see where you have to go, but you don't know which way that is. So you start walking down the block, and you realize you're walking the wrong way. So you turn around. This solves that problem.
Are we
This is
gonna
just instantaneously? This is the way to go.
Are we going to see phones with machine vision acceleration?
Yes.
Qualcomm has those machine vision chips already. Are we going to see them in the next generation of phones?
yeah, 2020.
Yeah, or 2019.
Get
phones,
those multiple
probably.
lenses,
Yeah.
laser sensors on your phone, world mapping. Slam on your phone.
Slam.
Final piece of little product news. Super Impulse, you know this toy company? They
Nope.
do the micro arcades. They have licenses to do like tiny Space Invaders, tiny Galaga,
Oh,
Galaga, exactly.
Okay.
And like $15. Like they're kind of like, remember Tiny Circuits, a company that did Tiny Duino?
Yes, I do.
They had like a tiny arcade that they made. You could still buy a kit for $60 that lets you play a bunch of simple games.
Okay.
This company sells, single purpose tiny miniature arcades with physical controls for about $15. They're now doing a tiny version of a handheld console game that does single games like Pac-Man.
It says it's credit card size. Is that credit card thin?
It is. I don't think it's credit card thin. It's
Okay.
got to be circuit board thin, like two circuit board thin plus
Got buttons on it.
plus a button.
Okay.
Exactly.
They've
Yeah.
done a lot of
Pocketable.
stories about this.
Yeah. So these they'll have a Pac-Man, Tetris, and an Atari card that has Missile Command and Centipede, and be $20 to $25 each. These are nice, neat little devices,
Neat devices, says Norm.
and not too expensive. Hey, I got a 1UP arcade or arcade 1UP.
Did you build it yet?
I did build it.
How is it?
It's a good build, right?
It's a fun build.
Yeah.
This is that company that has licenses to do classic arcades at half scale arcades,
Sure.
the 17-inch screen.
Yeah.
And then you can build a riser, so it's a little bit higher. But
It's like a bar top, though, right?
But super cheap. So like where you would normally pay, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe $1,000 for a nice quality arcade game, this costs, what'd you pay?
I paid $250.
But
Ooh.
you got the multi-arcade,
I got the
right?
12-in-1.
So 12 games in there, it's the cabinet is really what looks good. Like they did
Yeah.
a great job with the artwork.
And what's the processor inside? Is it like a Raspberry Pi or something?
It is
It's proprietary, built into the back of their 17-inch LCD.
Oh, nice. So you just have to build the cabinet and put the monitor in and connect power and controllers?
It is. It's like IKEA simple. It's
A
like
ribbon
an
cable.
hour to build. But the reason I did it, not because I want to spend $200. I think they originally were priced at $400.
they
Price has
were
gone-
never on the market for
Yeah,
$400.
they're $300 is the
Yeah.
most you'd pay for them. There's Street Fighter. There's Space Invaders.
Is there room for 2 controllers for Street Fighter?
There is room for 2 controllers.
Huh.
But
That's the
thing
one I
is,
have.
It's also easily moddable.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
some good tutorials on YouTube of how to modify them and
Oh, that sounds cool.
swap out the guts with the Raspberry Pi,
Yeah.
all new controls, a new amp, and basically run any classic game on it.
Huh. That
which
sounds
is
really
what I'm
neat.
going to hopefully be able to do in the next month. And we'll also have a YouTube video about that very same process.
Very cool.
All right, let's head on to our last segment.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
You guys play Beat Saber?
I still play Beat Saber,
I
man.
love it. I play it all the time.
I go back to some of the classics sometimes, and Beat Saber, it always strikes me as one that's not going to get old anytime soon. I dig it.
They've added new songs too. Those new songs are pretty good.
But there's only one, isn't there?
It's from some video game that I wasn't familiar with.
It's really good too. I agree with you.
Well, Beat Saber players are so good at the game and move so quickly that Steam VR couldn't keep up.
It filters out what it thinks are as glitches, and they had to relax the filtering for Beat Saber users.
And just to be clear, you score in Beat Saber, unlike most rhythm action games. It's not a timing thing. It's how hard you hit the things.
People are moving
it's
very
about
quickly.
follow through too.
Sure, but
Big
it's not about hitting those blocks on the beat. It's about if you break them at all, you get all the points. As long as it's about
form is what it is. So you have to have a certain 30 degrees of follow through past the time you hit the block.
30 degrees.
30 degrees.
All right.
Yeah.
So Beat Saber on Steam VR, just a little bit better if you're one of those pro level Beat Saber players.
That was not me.
No.
What you do expert or expert plus, Jeremy? Normal. What's your difficulty level?
I start on normal, and then if I feel like
$100 bills.
I feel like if I can get normal aced, then I move on to hard.
Okay.
I can't hang with expert. Can you?
Expert's scary.
Can you?
I can
can't.
do $100 bills on expert, but I barely squeak through every time.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to see that.
No, you don't. It's real. It's not good. It's flailing everywhere. I mostly hard. I like hard. Hard is good.
Hard is hard, man.
Hard is hard.
Also updated big screen VR. What's new here?
This is brand new. This is hot off the presses. Right before we went to air, Big Screen has released their big 2019 update. We talked with Darshan at OC4, and he was it 5 already? And he hinted at some of these changes. He talked about since they're developing for mobile, you can't lean forward, and so that causes a problem when you're sitting next to your buddies on a movie theater. You can't see them.
Right.
So how do you solve that problem? You curve the theater. And so they did that, and they've released a whole new theater where you are able to see everybody, even on 3DOF. And they have improved their lighting mechanics so that the light from the screen works on mobile now. It uses real ray tracing.
Ooh.
And what else? I mean, all new avatars, a whole new UI, new rooms feature. Oculus Go can now create rooms, Norm.
Oh.
So there's a lot of interesting things. You can teleport. You can walk around now. It's like a whole new app. So I'm looking forward to trying this. I actually booted up my Go this morning, and it had not hit the updates yet. So I'm looking forward to trying that when it does.
Very cool. We have a release date for Ubisoft's Space Junkies.
What is Space Junkies?
Dude, Space Junkies is like one of my most anticipated titles of the year. It's you know about Echo Combat,
I'm
right?
familiar with Echo Combat.
Did you play it?
I've played it.
You played it?
It's very good.
Yeah, it's very good. So this is more like the Quake version of Echo Combat. Like this is more.
Are you
just
not floating around
running?
space?
No, it's like more like run and gun. It's a.
You are floating around in space.
Yeah,
but you have lots of propellers.
Can you like grab the world and slide along it like you can in Echo Combat?
No.
It's more jetpacky than that, but it's
Okay.
0G.
Are you like Iron Man?
It's how does that movement work? It's really good. Like we've
Okay.
played it a couple times, and it's improving every time. And it's more, but it's more deathmatchy.
Does it make you sick, Norm?
It doesn't make me sick.
okay.
There's no sideways rotation.
Okay.
But a bunch of maps, a bunch of really big maps too, and a lot of different weapons. So I think it's very Quake or Unreal.
Yeah,
in that
Unreal is probably better.
a lot of weird, goopy rocket launcher weapons, and we had a lot of fun playing it when we play tested it.
That sounds really cool.
I'm really excited about it. It's
When's it out?
Cross-platform, even PSVR. It's coming out next month, March 26th.
Ubi's multiplayer stuff is always cross-platform with all the
That's
big
true.
three.
That's true.
teams.
And then finally, last week, Oculus announced Asgard's Wrath, and we're getting a little bit more details of that. Road to VR has some hands-on with it.
When the first trailer came out, it seemed like an interesting combat game where you play the role of humans, but also a giant, and lots of hand-to-hand melee, and like everyone's kind of experimenting with that, and it seems like they've done some interesting solutions. But this new trailer, I guess people said, okay, it looks like a combat game, and the developers.
Sensaru
said it's a little bit more than that, and they released a little teaser of what else you can do. And there's apparently some down exploration, puzzle solving mechanics too. So it seems like a real RPG kind of game, and I'm looking forward to it. I've heard some people on Reddit and YouTube say this is their new most anticipated title.
It's supposed to be a 30-hour single-player game.
Yeah, there's a lot of game there. I'm really curious how they solved that combat, because the real problem for me with that they have to solve is how do you get the player to feel like there's weight to something that they're holding, like a broadsword, when you can swing it as lightly as a touch controller?
You played Gorn.
Yes, but not enough, because that game has a massive following, and I did not understand it.
I love that game.
It starts
Do
a
you?
little slow. You need a big space to play it,
Mm-hmm.
because if you can really mess your hand up on the wall with that one. But it imparts a lot of heft by making the weapons, like when you impact something, they get kind of rubbery.
Well,
and it gives you some good haptic feedback.
So think of like the
controller you're
mace,
using.
right? As opposed to a sword or a bat.
Yeah.
Swords can break and stuff like that. But the mace, you're swinging it. So the chain,
Yeah,
the physics
The
of
flail.
that, the flailing, that gives you the heft.
and you have to slow down in order to lead it correctly.
And also, if you whack yourself in the face, it has impact.
Yes.
Like it's weird.
In the same vein, there's a big community around the VR game Blade and Sorcery. You guys play that?
haven't played
It's on
that.
early access. It is another melee combat game, VR fantasy sword fighting. People love this game. You can do slow motion, basically. So
Okay.
you can like play in slow motion and like do Matrix style attacks.
Like bullet time stuff.
bullet time with melee, and then play it back in normal speed,
Huh.
capture it, and it looks like you are a kung fu master.
That's cool.
People just love like ragdoll physics and like throwing,
That Gorn's loaded
swords.
with that, right?
yeah, tons.
Gorn,
of-
like you lop somebody's leg off and then can beat him to death with the leg. It's pretty gross. Pretty good.
yeah, we should try playing it more, and we'll cover it on projections in the future. Someone messaged and asked, why haven't we covered Pimax? Because they've been shipping now. We do have Pimax units, and Jeremy and I have been testing them, so we will be doing our review of the Pimax in a future episode.
Cool.
Putting that out there.
We don't want to say why we haven't yet.
I mean, we had some technical problems early.
Yes.
Yeah, we had some. I mean, I think I'm not sure if the units they gave us were final production ones, so we had to get some replacements.
Okay.
Did you guys talk about the Stardock stuff a couple weeks ago?
What's that?
The Stardock, they basically shut down.
Oh,
People.
Wow.
Yeah. There was allegations of insider trading, and like police came and like key founders left. It seemed like a lot of drama. There was a good article by Jason. God, what's his last name? About the kind of final days of the studio. It was a sad story.
that's sad. Thanks
Yeah.
for bringing us down at the end. Jim.
Sorry, a real bummer.
Everything's not awesome.
Well, it's not awesome because we're ending the podcast. We're done. We're done with this episode at least.
Time for lunch.
Time for lunch. Thank you, Will, for joining. Where can people
course.
find you and the stuff you do?
I'm at foovr.com. My Twitter is Will Smith, and I stream PUBG and Apex Legends and other games at twitch.tv/notthatwillsmith on evenings, Pacific time.
And if you want him to know what you're saying on Twitter, give him a good follow first.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to hear it. That's the only way I'm going to see it. And probably not even then. I don't spend that much time on Twitter these days.
And also, Jeremy, you can find you at Jareware,
Yep.
as well as your work on Tested. You and Sean and the folks at Other Ocean launch Tank Ball. Sorry, it's not called
Project Tank Ball, not
Project
called
Tank-
Tanks a Lot.
Ah.
However, I don't know. Like,
Sir Tanks a Lot.
apparently, the way that they decided on the name was they were typing in the Mixer metadata, and they said, "Hey, I need a name," and that was the first one shouted out. Project Tank Ball. So it was that scientific. I'm sure if anybody has a better name, they're all ears.
Tanks a Lot's pretty good.
Sir Tanks a Lot is what I want to call it.
I think just Tanks a Lot is pretty good too.
So if you want to try a real-world robotic Rocket League style game, you can probably go to mixer.com/otherocean.
Wait, do those cars have rockets on them?
No, Rocket League doesn't have rockets on them.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, you mean like rockets that not that you fire, but that you use
Rockets
to
on the
propel.
car, yeah.
No, we use DC motors.
Have you considered rockets? I mean, I don't want to make any, I'm just saying rockets are pretty cool, Jeremy. Maybe a little jet engine. We know some RC people.
We'll get right on that.
We
Will
could make
Smith.
this happen.
We will get right on
I
that.
want to see those cars fly. That's
we
what
have
I'm
we have
saying.
talked about like how to potentially, should one want to make money,
Yeah.
what could we sell?
Little cars.
I think a rocket would be a great idea.
What if you put a little solenoid under the back of the car so you could make it do a front flip?
Fine, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Rockets and solenoids coming soon to mixer.com/otherocean. I believe that's what it is. Anyway, you can go, you can play, you can get in line, drive a car around, score some soccer goals.
Is it on all the time?
Give us what you think. Tell us what you think. It's not, but it probably will be up the day this podcast comes out on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday morning.
Cool.
That's the schedule now.
I don't know what their schedule is. It's like a game that's in development. It is brand new, and it's like we're looking for feedback. So let us know what you think.
Alrighty. Very cool. And thank you all for listening this week. Hey, we have T-shirts for just a couple more days. Our tested logo shirt, designed by Those Nerdy Design Sketches. It's available at tested.com/shop. Would really appreciate you guys checking it out. We love the design. Hope you guys love it too.
You keep showing up at the end of videos pitching these T-shirts.
Yeah, well, at least the last two videos.
What happens when they go off? You can't sell the T-shirts anymore.
People are gonna be sad.
They can request them on Cotton Bureau.
Oh, I like it.
And we'll maybe bring them back.
All right,
but
good.
they're available only for a limited time, at least this version of it, until the end of this Sunday, this weekend. So pick up yours now. And if you're wearing the shirt and I see you in person, give me a high five. It's permission to come up and give
You
us
can
a high
touch
five.
Norm.
Yes, there you go.
What, if they don't have the shirt on, they can't give you a high five?
I will have to play it by ear.
Norm might fist bump. It's a fist bump if there's no shirt. It's my rule.
Yeah. All right, we got an outro this week.
Imperialist Rex comes through again.
Hi there. I didn't see you.
We are post-lunch, a little groggy.
I don't know what the solution is to that other than coffee, please.
What
Yeah,
are you talking about? It's like 3 or 4 Diet Coke.
someone press our turbo button. Thanks a lot.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was a
great
very
one.
fast end.
Alrighty. Time for lunch.